Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Podcast.
I knew it.
I mean, what else am I going to do?
I don't know.
Yell
and scream and run around the room.
Yeah. It was crazy. I've seen this movie once before.
Okay.
This
is one of the only ones you have seen prior.
Correct. I saw it when Fox released it on home video in a fake Disney white clamshell.
Yes.
Right. With a not a good dub.
It was
a
only
bad dub.
It was only dubs. There were no subs.
Right.
No, all dubs, no subs.
They didn't own the Japanese.
David's holding up a no bits phone case.
Oh, you're in trouble. This episode, Davey Sims.
There's going to be some bits?
There's going to be, when JD Amato's in town, the bits come rolling in.
Hey, blanket.
Thank it. Don't touch me.
I haven't puked in months.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Wait. Before we even talk, let's
Puke update.
We have to do a health update.
Okay.
Oh, my. I was going to say, I know Ben's not feeling great.
Yeah. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
Just like some prescription.
You had a bad night.
You had a bad night, yeah.
You're having a prescription transition.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, you're going from one port to another port in a storm, so it's a little right.
Yeah, I'm getting off antidepressants, and
That's another way to
sometimes
put it.
it's not fun when
Sure.
you're in between pills
Yeah.
and you feel like your head is falling off.
Oh,
You're not going to puke any Putine?
Nope. No, I wouldn't do that to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
David, how you feeling?
Well, when I was on vacation, I hurt my back at one point, like lower back.
How'd you hurt it?
Who knows? Bending to pick something up.
Doing dialogue?
I think there's a story here. David's not telling us.
It was
I
that.
think so,
Oh boy, no! It was one of those classic things where I'm like bending to pick up a bag, and then suddenly I'm like, why am I in like insane amounts of pain?
Yeah.
And like you have to like sit down, and you're like, why isn't it going away?
I have no frame of reference for this. Is it better now?
Yeah.
So
but it's
you
still
think
like
you just
a
pulled
twinge.
something? Okay, it's just a little.
Yeah. If it persists, I will, I guess, go to an orthopedist or whatever.
Have you ever gotten a good massage?
Yes, not in a while. I'd love to get one.
Like a good massage.
Like
good
a
massage.
Ben's doing the
Devil horns.
devil horns.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just got a good massage, and I had not gotten a massage in 10 years.
Okay.
Because I was like, it feels like, I don't know, it's like too fancy. And also, I was like, I don't want anyone touching me.
Oh, you see, I'm fine with the touching, but
Yeah, it was both things combined. But I was
an
like,
extravagance.
man, this is really, really a pleasant thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you got to go for the 80-minute, 90-minute.
Oh, the true experience.
Yeah,
Because
they have
once-
the cold stones and the hot stones.
There's that
Cold
one.
Stone
I just
Creamery.
do the one that's if I get a
That's
massage.
why I got a Cold Stone Creamery massage.
Yeah.
They put mix-ins into an ice cream on my back.
Right.
They were like mushing the cookie dough in
yeah, and the
on
only
my
where-
vertebrae.
and if you tip them, they sing a song.
Yeah.
about your body.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
I've never been to Cold Stone Creamery.
Really?
Never.
Are you not an ice cream guy?
Not an ice cream guy. So it's
Wow.
never, I mean, I'll get ice cream, but I don't seek it out. So I feel
Hey,
like
slab it, dab it.
Sure.
You've heard Randy's bit.
Slab it, dab it.
JD like that.
You've heard Randy's bit about Cold Stone Creamery,
Randy
right?
Newman?
Coldies?
No, Randy the stand-up that everyone loves.
Oh, you mean from funny people? Like Randy.
Yeah. You know what's crazy, though? Because
Sure.
people talk about joke theft all the time. Aziz Ansari has that exact same bit.
Aziz Ansari has that exact same personality. It's weird.
It's almost like...
Well, no, but it was a parody. It was a parody of a type of a comedian.
I just think it's a funny thing that Aziz had these jokes.
Right.
At the time, he was a low-energy comedian.
Right.
Then he did Randy, which was his parody of an energy comedian.
Yeah, it's a parody of Dane Cook.
But he used his own material.
Right.
And then
then
people loved Randy, and he was like, what if I deliver all
What
my
if
material
This is
like
my
this?
thing. Oh, I'm so famous.
But
instantly.
He used his own jokes
I know.
to play a comedian who's shitty.
Yeah.
But don't we all
Finish that
sometimes
sentence.
take a parody of ourselves?
Yeah.
And it's truly what we hope to be.
Oh, you mean like sort of an aspirational thing?
Yes, it's a way to test the waters for a version of yourself that you don't have the the boldness to achieve in the moment.
Yes, I found a vehicle for that. It's called Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Hell
it's a
yeah.
podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their career and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they ride the cat bus, baby, into the woods. A breath of air.
This is okay. First and foremost.
This is Masters on the Films of Hayao Miyazaki.
Oh, okay, go.
It's called Howl's Moving Podcast.
Yep.
Is it?
Or Podcastle in the Sky.
No, it's Howl's Moving
Or
Podcast. That's what the fans
Podcastle of
chose.
Cagliostro.
The fans chose Howl's Moving Podcastle. I wanted Podcastle in the Sky, but they went with Howl.
Or Pod's Moving Castle was the other idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought Podcastle was just like, he's got 3 castle titles.
Yeah.
It's nice if you can keep podcast intact. We rarely have that opportunity.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. That's why I wanted Podcastle in the Sky. But
I-
it's a little vague.
Yeah.
And our
Howl is-
podcast
I like
is
it.
not in the sky, but it is sometimes about the sky.
I also think my podcast Totoro would be good.
Would it though? Is that would that
Yes,
be good?
I think my podcast Totoro would have been excellent.
Or my neighbor Podocast.
My podcast
Getting
neighbor
worse.
Totoro.
Podcastero.
This is like a trend line on the graph. It's
Yeah.
just right. $0. Oh, I made
Go.
the
Do you have
microphone
more
fall
left to do
down.
your thing? The opening?
No, we're here, of course, with JD Amato.
I'm JD Amato, and I love movies.
Blanket.
Thank it.
Is this 5 or 6?
I
Look
mean,
it up.
well, you know what? Let's get into this
Yeah.
because I feel that I have been tossed around like a rag doll
Christ, you already
in the waves.
did all this to me the other day.
Yes, but now this is on the record.
Yeah.
God damn it. It's been a stressful time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
I get put on. I've been scheduled to do. Okay, there's a secret podcast. We already talked about that.
This is your 8th podcast if you include Corpse Bride.
It's my 8th. No, there's no way.
Digital filmmaking.
Okay, 1,
War of the Worlds.
2,
Speed Racer.
3,
Starship Troopers.
4,
Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk.
5,
Talking the Walk 2018.
Corpse Bride.
6,
This.
7.
Oh, okay, did I say 8?
Yeah.
All right, I was counting wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
Do the Patreon episodes count?
Well,
I think they kind of do. It's sort of nominally another show, but like it kind of counts.
here's what I think. Can I tell you my theory?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you go on to like the Wikipedia, most SNL, like most frequent SNL hosts,
Sure.
there's like Paul Simon up there.
Sure.
And they're like only hosted like 3 times, but then a musical guest like this many times.
Mm.
Like I feel like it's a bracket thing where I go
Yeah.
like 6 pure appearances
Well,
plus 1 Patreon.
Well,
you know?
I felt that I was put in a bracket in that situation because I was put into a golden bikini and dragged on Jabba's sail barge and forced to perform.
No objections from me.
Forced to perform for all of your
If someone could get on a Photoshop with that post haste, that'd be great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
aristocrats.
Yeah, you didn't like us
Putting you behind the paywall.
And now I'm here back with the people, the real people.
Right, and there's your blank check that you want to cash, your sort of crazy passion project episode, which will be coming out in 2020.
It's on,
2020.
it's on the spreadsheet, baby.
I work for the art form. I work for no man.
And I love that. And I honestly appreciate that. And
When
I
Ben says he
wish-
loves that, he doesn't mean it. He
Yeah.
means that he doesn't
For
love
me,
that.
I love that, but I just got to say that unfortunately it's got to be postponed. And I did the best I could.
It's happening next year.
It's
Yeah,
gonna happen
but
next
you know
year.
what? We're
Nope.
here. Well, talk to him.
Oh,
All right,
I
okay.
would
We're
love
here to
to-
talk
I
about
would
My
love to
Neighbor
see that.
Totoro.
Yeah.
Come on, this is so arcane, guys.
Well, we knew this was.
What? Already? Okay. You know what?
Jesus, he's
I'm
mad at me.
I'm instituting a rule for this episode. If I ever feel like David's hurrying us along, I'm going to record something later that Ben will have to put in to extend it.
You don't have that power.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I have
I mean,
to-
he does. He's just like, yeah, he does.
Yes.
And insert clip here.
Why are you calling me JD? What is this?
David, I feel like I let you guys down.
Oh, Jesus.
I've been up all night for the past several weeks. Just, I feel like I blew the episode, David.
Should I have not texted you a couple weeks ago saying, like, oh, yeah, the episode's a disaster, but don't worry about it?
Any favor that I did myself with the Billy Lynn episode, I think I've thrown
Right.
in the garbage with this episode.
Yeah, but that's great, isn't it? Like it's sort of you're like Ben Affleck. It can be like sort of rise and fall, right? You're like you too.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
know?
I love.
This is like rattling. This is your rattle and hum. But then you're going to surprise us all with an Octoon Baby.
Oh, but I just love My Neighbor Totoro. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I feel like I didn't do it a service.
Hey, look.
Because I love it.
This is the way the business goes. For anyone listening at home, this is genuine.
I know.
This isn't some... I mean, it is a weird JD bit, but it's also genuine.
Well, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I'm glad you love it. I love it too. It's very good. Ben seemed really stressed out when I saw him yesterday. That's always a good sign.
Stressed out by the episode?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He was basically like, I want to cut this, and this, referring to like 4 sections of the podcast. And we were like, sure, cut some of that, not all of it.
Yeah.
And I love you, JD. You're doing fine.
Thank you, David.
The fans love JD.
Yeah, I think they're not going to love me after this. I think they're going to be mad that I didn't do a service to Totoro.
Oh, don't apologize. Who cares? You're donating your time to us. This is the whole thing. People like get mad at the guests sometimes, and I'm like, you understand, like, they are putting themselves out. They are giving us their time. They're watching a damn movie, sometimes more than one movie, and like coming to the studio and putting up with our nonsense. Like it's a service. We thank you for your service.
Well, I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry that I've done this to your Totoro episode.
Jesus Christ, you gotta relax, man. You're doing great. We're all doing okay. Well, we just gotta cling on to the people we love. You know, it's a tough time in the world.
I agree. I love you, David.
Love you too, buddy.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Jeez.
Thank you for this phone call.
Of course. Wacko.
That was me explaining. Now it's going to be a clip of me explaining my favorite Jackie Chan movies. So there. Now we're back from JD's Jackie Chan movies.
All right. Yeah. Should I get that police story
JCs.
Criterion?
I think so.
I have it. It's great.
I want to get that. All right, we agree.
Oh, I got to make a note. I got to record this. These Jackie Chan.
You know, we talked a lot about recently.
Go ahead.
The live action, no CGI, no makeup Donkey Kong film we want, starring Russell Crowe.
Oh my
I forgot
God.
there was no makeup as well.
He has to do it Elephant Man.
It's Elephant
Bradley
Man,
Cooper
right,
style.
Wait, so this is Russell Crowe.
It's Russell Crowe will just be Donkey Kong.
He gets the
You know
tie.
what I mean?
We give him the tie.
We'll give him the tie. He can have a banana. He can have a barrel. He can ride a swordfish, which is something he does often in the video game. I'm trying to think of other Donkey Kong things. He can pound the ground.
We're not doing this Lion King style.
Wait.
Yeah, right. No Lion King. No mocap.
No Jim Henson Creature Shop.
But also, it's like we're also not doing this movie style where they put makeup on. They've been doing that for about 100 years,
Yeah.
and we're like, no.
So here's a question to you. Is this going to be a fully naked Russell Crowe?
Oh, he has to be naked?
The tie is going to be very long.
In a red tie.
So it's like Beowulf, where like it's always blocking his genitals to the extent that you're sort of like can only think about how it's blocking.
It's like the opening of Spy Who Shagged Me.
No, it should be attached to his wiener.
Okay,
tied around it.
Yes.
Okay. Oh Jesus! And who's playing Diddy Kong? I forgot.
I forget. Someone will.
Whoever
tell
said
us.
Miles Teller, whoever's
Yeah.
whoever's always on those lists.
What's his name?
Harry Styles,
Big Head.
Big Head. Yeah, of course.
No,
No,
Diddy Kong's head's not that big.
this is what I was going to say.
What are you talking about?
I mean, compared
David.
to Donkey Kong.
What the fuck are you talking about?
David.
Not compared to Donkey Kong, relative to the size of his body.
David. Diddy Kong's got a big ol' head.
The rule of thumb is that most people are like 5 or 6 heads tall, right?
Yes.
Or more.
If you remember
Diddy Kong is 1 head tall.
No.
What are you talking about?
2 heads tall. 2 heads tall.
David.
2 heads tall.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Jesus Christ.
Look at how big his head is, how little his body is.
Griffin, this man's a journalist.
This is insane.
The Atlantic hires you.
Not only am I a journalist,
a paper of record.
I'm the one who is planning to do a Donkey Kong podcast on this feed.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong podcast.
Motherfucker.
No, I'll tell you who has a big head. Ooh. Oh boy. Here he comes.
Pat Sajak?
Ooh. Baby Kong.
Oh.
That's
Wait,
a big old melon.
David, I would argue Baby Kong's head is smaller than Diddy Kong's
I would
head.
argue they have almost identical proportions,
What
and if
you're-
anything.
what you're
He's got
looking
big
at,
arms.
He's got big arms and a big belly. The head is bigger.
It's
It's a
not.
big
not,
head.
not true. Diddy Kong. has a more insane head to body ratio. What I was going to say is, it's crazy. We've been doing this podcast for over 4 years.
Right.
David, you and I have been friends for like 5 or 6 years now.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize until this
Maybe
moment in
7.
time that you're literally the dumbest person alive.
Get the fuck out.
Number one
This
dumb
is a
dumb.
very hostile to David podcast so far. Considering it's about one of the gentler movies ever made.
Well, also, this is revenge for this multiple recordings where I've come in and you've been in a mood.
It was just one, and
No,
you already
it was-
litigated that on another appearance. You have to litigate it again? I think that was like the Starship Troopers episode, and then like the Billy Lynn, we had to have half an hour talking about that.
You were in such a mood, you made me vomit.
No, I know what made you vomit, my friend.
Your
A
mood.
certain dish of French fries and gravy that you had at a certain Brooklyn bar.
Okay, this is what I was going to
We
say.
call that the French special.
The Dauphin.
Police Story 2. Hey, please, take that name out of your mouth. Police Story 2 ends with essentially a live-action version of the original Donkey Kong, where
Like
Jackie Chan
ladders
is
and-
on
right,
like
yes,
ladders and rafters, avoiding barrels that are being thrown at him.
Like, it's a good format.
Fucking rules.
It's a good visual adventure format.
And here's
I
the
mean,
second thing I'm going to say now. JD, yes, perhaps we've taken advantage of our friendship with you, your loyalty to the podcast, your popularity with guests, and flipped you around a little bit, tossed you around a little bit. But we did say like 6-7 months ago, we were like, Miyazaki's on the books.
Yep.
This is exclusive.
That's
No one knows this yet. You get first crack at any Miyazaki you want. No one has put in for any Miyazaki. You get to pick anyone.
Yes.
And you said, I can do Totoro. And I said, it's yours.
My Neighbor Totoro, I believe, is the greatest animated film of all time, in my opinion.
Wow.
And as much as I'm doing bits in this podcast, and I've got a table of contents about 10 items long that have nothing to do with this movie, this movie, I believe, is one of the most wonderful movies of all time. It is I have an official top 10 that I've formed.
Sure, you're
It's-
like your top 10.
It
JD's
sits,
top 10.
It sits on my wall in my apartment,
Okay.
like a Blockbuster staff.
Oh, so like
edition.
you have it like the DVDs or
Yes.
whatever, like
Yes.
arranged.
Can I
Okay.
see how many of them I can guess?
Yeah, absolutely.
Labyrinth?
Okay, so I have two different lists.
Oh,
I
You
wanna
have
tell
like
you.
a favorite and a
Right.
best.
I have my.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both favorites, but
Yeah, but
one
I
is
get it.
movies that I think
are the
represent cinema, and one that's like, listen, I get it if you don't like these movies.
Right.
I just
Personal.
say favorite and best.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can
Okay,
say
so
favorite
I
both.
think I can do the cinema list.
Okay, do the cinema list.
Okay, cinema list. My Neighbor Totoro,
Okay.
Playtime,
Yep.
Dog Day Afternoon.
Yep.
Muppet Movie is on this list, right?
Yes.
Right, that's taking sort of the Labyrinth spot on the
Yes,
cinema list
yes,
versus
yes,
the
yes,
personal list.
The other ones are tough. Here's a hint.
Oh, Monica Mana.
Yep.
Nailed it. Okay, we saw that together.
Yes. There's
There's
another documentary.
on the list.
There's
God,
actually two documentaries right now, but one of them's going to get bumped off soon.
is it Narrow Morris?
No.
It's not Hoop Dreams, right?
No. Although Hoop Dreams is very good.
Ugh, I feel like I know this.
It's not a filmmaker who made almost anything else after this film.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it American Movie?
No.
Movie. He made lots of movies.
Right, I
Yeah.
forgot that. Yeah.
It's Hands on a Hard Body.
Oh, Hands on a Hard Body.
Course,
That's a favorite of yours.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
And then what else is in there is The Red Shoes.
Great movie.
Oh, yeah.
Not my personal pal and Pressburger, but I mean, indisputable.
Mine's
I love
Colonel
it.
Blimp. Yours is Life and Death, right?
Mine is Life and Death. But I mean, Colonel Blimp is also pretty indisputable.
Yeah.
My mother's favorite movie of all time is I Know Where I'm Going. So that was sort of like a big,
Haven't seen that one.
it's fantastic. Maybe one day we'll do David's mom episode. That would be the one to do for
I
David's
would
mom.
love to just
Oh.
do them.
Yeah, you might want to put some lines.
Put some
around
brackets on
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
What are the others? Sorry, I'm sorry.
Marketa Lazarova.
Oh, sure.
wow.
Yeah, right.
okay.
I mean, if you watch that film, it's
Yeah.
it's insane. And then I have a Kurosawa spot that I
you
you
like
sort of like.
I very controversially put Kurosawa's Dreams.
I was going to guess that was the
That's
one.
his best movie.
It's
But that's
not-
a very JD
It's
movie.
not, but it
I was
I
going to
love that movie.
I saw it very early,
Mhm.
and so there's so many moments.
I had a
and
friend who
images
was like that.
that
Was
just
an early movie,
And
early art movie. For
I
him.
understand that it's not his best work, and there's other movies that I do know are, but that one I just think sums up so much of what's great and
I
beautiful.
don't know what
about
my
film.
favorite Kurosawa is, though. I don't know. I don't know.
For me,
Oh yeah. So here's
Good Time is on my list.
Good Times on
Yes.
this list.
so here's my thing.
You made this announcement as if it
You've
was
made
going
it
to
so
shock
many
us.
times.
Yeah.
So on my
JD has 2 pages of notes here. One of them's typed, one of them's handwritten.
the typed one has a table of contents of things that we're going to discuss today
Okay.
that aren't My Neighbor Totoro. But one of them is going to get crossed off, and I need you guys to tell me. Totoro is my number 3 best movie of all time.
Okay.
What are your number 3 movies of all time?
I don't know that I have a top.
And once
10
again, not favorite, but like if I was ranking like ultimate cinema.
Yeah, but it's all combined and intermeshed. My number 1 is Playtime. My number 2 is Dog Day.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Totoro.
Well,
yeah, okay.
I've said my top 3.
Yeah, I don't have a ranking. I guess I could attempt
Yeah.
a ranking.
My-
You have to attempt a ranking. That's what I'm asking.
Like
Yeah, my-
the second I have to attempt a ranking
Yeah.
of my favorite movies of all
I
time.
think so.
My top 3 films.
All right.
I know this.
Here we go then.
Okay.
Right. See, I know this.
David's stretching. He's doing like a pitcher's
Oh,
warm up.
boy, let's
Right.
see.
My top 3 are Toy Story 2, Brewster McCloud, and RoboCop.
Okay. So
I would say
RoboCop.
RoboCop. And if I were making the ultimate cinema list, I think RoboCop would also take my number 3 slot.
Wow.
I
That's
think
great.
I probably, if I'm going ultimate cinema, Nashville's my number 1. Like Nashville's the like gun to my head.
Interesting.
I think this is the best movie.
Yeah,
ever
I was
made.
thinking about an Altman for my number 3 too.
That is my like.
Interesting.
If you ask me to say what I think is the ultimate statement in the medium, I think it's Nashville. I think RoboCop would be number 3 on both lists.
Wow.
And I'm trying to think what my number 2 would be because I've tried to assemble what my Sight and Sound list would be.
Right.
And much like you, it's like the difference between the two is me swapping out personal favorites from certain directors
Yeah.
for what I think is empirically their best.
Yeah. Like on my personal list, I got Labyrinth.
me
I got
up.
an Ernest movie.
Right.
I got a lot of stuff on there that I'm not going to sit here and try to defend to A.O. Scott. More like B.O. Scott.
Hey,
You got it in
Guys,
there.
you
Congratulations.
promised that you would laugh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is a joke that was made before the podcast.
45 minutes ago.
And we kind of went like, ha!
No, we gave it a
Yeah, we
real
laughed,
laugh
we
at
laughed,
the
we laughed,
time.
we laughed.
We laughed.
I'm sorry we weren't on the ball. I'm just thinking about this top 3 question. I'm
Yeah,
curious
you've
what
totally fucked
David's
me up.
top 3 is. I've
That's
heard
great. This is a movie podcast. Is this not? Do we not love movies in this room?
My name's Griffin
can.
Newman and I love movies.
My name's JD Amato and I love movies.
Blanket.
My name's
Thank you.
David Sims. I love movies.
I feel like I've heard you say McCabe and Mrs. Miller's your number 1.
It's up there. It's up there. I have a letterbox list
Okay, what's
that's like, I don't believe it's public, but that it is a top. But it's sort of a loose list. Like it's
Yeah,
not like
sure. Yeah.
but it was, I will say, number 1.
Loose
Uh,
list. Sing.
A loose
Right.
list. But now I'm sort of
loose
like,
list?
I'm looking through what I've got on here.
Yeah.
Spirited Away is on this. This is
Hey.
there's a 50 film list.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, some of these things I've grown to love maybe even more. Some of these things, like maybe I've sort of forgotten a little bit. Yee Yee, Edward Yang's Yee Yee is currently number 3 on that list. So
Wow.
Okay.
let's just make that official.
That's your
'cause I
3.
fucking love that
RoboCop's my
movie.
3. Totoro's your 3.
Ben, do you have a 3?
I mean, what comes to mind
Good
is
time.
when I saw
Gummo.
Enter the Void.
Oh.
That was
Right.
like a really big, like, whoa
Yeah.
kind of moment for me. So I don't know. That would be probably 3.
Okay.
Enter the Void.
I love it. You don't even know what 1 and 2 are.
I don't.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
He's
like that's a cinema experience that sticks out.
If
to
we're
me.
really doing a only Vulgar Auteur bracket next year, Gaspar Noé's got to be on there.
yes,
I mean, Ben might really have a lot of influence.
We might call it the Ben bracket.
Right, because it might be Gaspar Noé,
Yeah.
Michael Winterbottom.
Harmony Korine.
Oh my God, Michael Winterbottom would be the death of this podcast because it would be like 25 unwatchable movies.
Yeah. This week,
Imagine a world in which
Where
you're
we're
doing.
like, okay, I think the takeaway here is the world is shit and
Yeah.
you will die.
Tristan Shandy, a pod and cast.
That's a good movie. He's made like 8 good movies. He's also just made like
A
16
lot of
other
movies.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, what would his blank check be?
Like The Claim. Like he did like
The Trip, his franchise.
The Trip.
He's got a big franchise.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's made movies like The Claim where you're like, who gave him money for this?
Yeah.
Where he like made like a frontier version of Thomas Hardy's The Mayor of Casterbridge, starring like Wes Bentley. That's like a movie.
Didn't he do a sci-fi film
Yeah,
with
Code
Tim
46.
Robbins? And,
yeah.
Right. I was trying
and
to remember
Samantha
the number.
Morton.
Right.
It's one of those sci-fi movies where it's kind of like they're in a greenhouse because it's the future, you know, like where they tried their best, you know, with the sets.
I also feel like his name sounds like something from like
Michael Winterbottom.
one of the late like Frosty the Snowman spinoffs where it's like Mr. Heat Miser and Mr. Winterbottom.
To me, he just sounds like the stuffiest English director. They're like, oh, Michael Winterbottom. He's like, I made a film that's just unsimulated sex and concerts. Like, that's a movie I made. Right. And you're like, oh, okay. All right. So he's not like the stuffiest guy. All right, fine. What else? Come on.
But, I mean, okay, we can go through the list or we can talk about Totoro. I feel like we can maybe spice some of these in.
Oh, okay. So you want to sort of bounce
I feel like we can back.
All right. We're here to
just
talk.
so the audience has something to look forward to.
My Neighbor Totoro. It's a pretty plot-light movie about a big old creature who lives in the woods and a couple of girls who meet him.
Okay.
I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's also not true. I know
But what I feel like is okay, so I truly believe that this is animation at its absolute finest of what the medium of animated storytelling.
You laid down your marker, but now build on it.
Can I give you some stakes on this episode too?
So mad at me.
Wow,
I did
David.
that deliberately. I will admit. I wanted to make him mad.
Can I give you some stakes?
Also, David always gets frustrated because the way that I talk sometimes is I will like
you sort of like
I'll
like
set the
a
stage
preacher.
before.
You're kind of like. So to remind you all, the best animated movie of all time is My Neighbor Totoro.
Yes.
Like, just
Exactly.
to sort of
I want to
relay the
establish
groundwork.
some narrative stakes for this episode.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Yeah, this episode seems light. You're right. Let's put something else in there.
Saw this movie when I was like 6 or whatever.
Oh, you were a little kid.
I was little. It was whenever it first came out on VHS. I think like 95.
Did your parents just be like, "Here's a cartoon"?
I feel like even twice, my parents were like, "This is the one like everyone's talking about. This must be amazing."
This guy is. You like animated films. This guy is so renowned.
And I think I rented it and was like, "I don't get this." Didn't finish watching it, and then I remember at school. There was like a rainy day or something, and they were like, "We're gonna watch this movie," and I sat there, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, I love Totoro," because I grew up in fucking New York City.
You grew up. You went to
Private
hippie,
school.
Yeah.
So everyone was
private
like,
rich-
"I have to show my kid like the edge, like the
Yeah,
fucking."
I mean, I think for the night. I mean, even now, it's
Right.
still like, oh yeah, Disney's okay, but I make sure my kid watches Miyazaki.
Right.
Okay, you're creating these characters.
No, because it's me. Like that's what I'm
Right.
going to be when I have a
But
kid.
this
Where I'll
is
be like,
no. I will say this:
Yeah.
my parents were not like that. The other parents at my school were definitely like that, and I was like, everyone loves Totoro. Everyone's I remember my parents being like, "Did you show Griffin Totoro?" And my mom was like, "Yeah, he like didn't really like it."
Right.
We watched the whole thing at school. I was like, I don't really get this. I remembered it very vividly.
Okay.
Because, like, when we were doing the Michael Mann episodes, 2 or 3 times I was like, I remembered a scene that didn't exist in the movie.
Right.
Whereas, like,
Got
this,
it.
I saw it, like, once in full,
But it
like,
was still in your head. Like
25 years ago, and I was like, this is in my head. I remembered the song. I remembered a bunch of images. Rewatched it. It was one of the movies where I was like, I don't think I get Miyazaki. Didn't even try to really engage with Miyazaki until we decided to do this miniseries. I've been really liking these movies. I watched this one. I certainly like it more. I don't understand it as the top tier of Miyazaki.
Oh my god.
From what I've been watching.
Wow.
I got nothing bad to say about it. But I'm watching it and I'm going, there's something here I'm not getting because I think this is very good. But I've been more impressed with almost every other Miyazaki movie I've watched at this point.
It's interesting because my automatic response would be, oh, well, it's best to see it when you're a kid. It really is made like a kid's eye view.
Yeah.
But like then you're saying, like, but you did see it when you were a kid. Also didn't register with you then.
And here's the weird thing. I understand why it didn't register with me as a kid. Because I talked about I was very like literal minded in a certain way as a kid, needing to understand like the story types and the structure and the genre and things like that. And so things from other cultures kind of threw me off, or things that were more sort of formless or spiritual threw me off. But the other thing is, I now, like, one of my favorite subgenres of film is like sad child,
Sure.
Right.
isolated, dealing with loneliness, outside trauma, interweave with fantasy. Like, I love fucking Pan's Labyrinth and like Spirit of the Beehive, and even like I'm a sucker for like the bad versions of movies that fall into this, know?
Stuber.
It's Stuber, obviously. Right.
I was just trying to think of the most obvious, not that.
Right. So I just feel like this is like a genre that I love.
So
now
what the
as
fuck's
an
your
adult.
problem?
I have nothing negative to say about it, but I do, like, I was like, I could beat myself up for not getting it, but I also know that JD has prepared a filibuster.
Well,
and he's going to sell me on the idea that this is the greatest animated film of all time.
JD just
Well,
put
here's
on a
the thing.
seersucker suit,
Yeah. Exactly.
and he said, I say.
He's dabbing his head with a handkerchief.
Never know what he's going to do,
Oh my
folks.
God, it's a wormhole opening up, and who is it? Of course, our friend stepping out of the walk-in verse. Hello, I'm here and ready to talk.
It's me, Christopher Walken.
Are you any particular kind of Christopher Walken?
I'm a Christopher Walken who's in the middle of a rights dispute.
Okay. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, I kind of want to go in for corporate couples therapy.
Okay.
Sony and Marvel, wow.
Oh, yeah, it's true. That's ongoing.
I don't know how to negotiate.
Some people are kind of upset about it.
I'm crying constantly.
He is crying constantly.
Christopher
Also, your
Walken.
voice is warped in bizarre ways.
It's not my fault. It's very accurate. It's only the wormhole warping me.
So you're looking for like a person who can support you through this rough patch, the everyday ups and downs in life, things like that?
Yeah, I'm on board.
Well, Talkspace is therapy for how we live today.
What?
It's mobile, available when you need it, and it's affordable.
Wow.
So with Talkspace online therapy, you can take care of your mental health in a more affordable and convenient way. You just provide your preferences for therapy. Talkspace matches you with one of 5,000 therapists, and you can send them unlimited text, audio, picture, video messages from anywhere at any time.
Maybe Kevin Feige isn't producing my movies anymore, but that's okay, is what you're saying. If I could talk through it, I can maybe come to terms with.
Could I tell you about the service?
Please.
I used Talkspace. I was having a rough patch after a breakup that I was very vocal about on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Talkspace was great because it was like, instead of having to like figure out a schedule and show up to the office, I was able to just like get on the phone and talk to a licensed therapist who was able to listen to me and offer me advice and all the great things that come out of having a therapist and someone in your life.
You're saying it was convenient and easy to use?
It was great.
You didn't have to wait for an appointment to talk about what was on your mind?
No, and when I was like sad, I could talk to someone.
Okay.
You don't have to go into the walk-in verse?
No.
You don't have to.
Your attachment to what we're talking about.
I think it's pretty clean. I think it's a short walk, baby.
Well, Talkspace has more than 5,000 licensed therapists who are experienced in addressing the challenges we all face. So to match with your perfect therapist for a fraction of the price of traditional therapy, go to Talkspace.com and make sure to use that code CHECK to get $65 off your first month and show your support for the show. It's check and Talkspace.com.
We're all suffering from Sony, baby.
Here's the thing. You're allowed to not have this film touch and speak to you in the way that it does for me or someone else.
Yeah.
But to talk about why I think it is perhaps the greatest animated film.
That's the argument I want to hear.
I want to dial back to what I think is special and magical about animation, which actually touches on a larger conversation that is about modern films. So
we're talking about an animator. Good to do.
When it comes to drawing and making art physically with your hands, I think the beauty of that is that you're taking the real world and the human perception of the real world, right? And you're translating it through your own identity, through your own experiences, and then using something that is an imperfect method to transfer that to something, which is your own hands, your ideas, this thing that is inherently flawed. We're not ever going to be able to exactly replicate the real world through our sort of artistic filter, right?
And here's another thing I just want to say. Because sometimes the director comes up and they're like, why would these guys want to cover this person versus this person? Why doesn't this person count as a blank check director? Whatever the thing is. And I think the biggest thing we look for, because the directors we've covered on the show are not necessarily who we think are the best, most important, or our favorite directors ever.
Sure.
Right? That's not the priority. The priority is people who have that filter.
Yeah.
Like the career that's interesting, but also in whatever medium they're working, however they work, at whatever budget level, it's like people are like, why are you talking about Nancy Meyers? It's like, because every Nancy Meyers movie is a filtration of how she sees the world.
Right.
And her trying through this weird and perfect medium that is so complicated to control to like produce the world that she sees.
Right.
And animation is the most extreme version of that because you're starting with a blank page. You're not even taking given objects and modifying them.
Yeah, and when you're drawing a picture, right, you're not drawing what's real. You're drawing what you feel. The colors, the choices, the size of things, and especially when you get into something as unrealistic as a Miyazaki movie, right? And I think that's what's beautiful is that, number one, Miyazaki does a lot of the keyframing himself. It's a lot of drawings and things like that, and it's a very personal story. And so when you're watching an animated film, and a hand-drawn animated film, what you're seeing is a human being literally drawing things. And it's going to be flawed, and it's not going to represent reality, but it's representing is a feeling, a thing that hopefully you identify with in some human way, right? And so I think that's what's beautiful animation is that all of the flaws and all of the things that aren't perfect about hand-drawn animation, they are to you reminding you that someone is there making this with their hand. It is a person. It is people behind this that are doing this.
It's a JD magic right there.
And this is another point I want to make, just tying into the thing I previously said. There are people who are technically competent who can make a live-action film that doesn't have any personal filter on it like that. But even the most technically inept animator, if they tried to make something, would, by nature of the process of animation, be telling you about how they see the world.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have the facility to express it.
Right.
Because everything is from their brain in their hand.
Right. And that's why, like, people love like Harvey Pekar and someone like that, where it's like, oh, but I feel what this guy's feeling, even though this thing is such a mess. You know? But so to discuss the modern context of this, is that like, that's why honestly, computer generated animation is sort of, there's great movies out there, but it feels different to me because when you watch it, humans are making it and helping make it.
Right.
But you're not feeling that feeling of like, ooh, that line moved in that small way that's almost imperceptible. And I know that was a person, or those leaves. And like, as Pixar gets,
and stop motion has the same appeal of like, you had to build this thing. You had to place all those individual cobblestones.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And so like when you see these beautiful Pixar rendered things where it's every leaf is perfect, it's like, that's great. But what I also love more is when you see like a Miyazaki mat and it's like, oh, these splotches of green and colors that aren't there, but they feel like they're there. And suddenly you're transported to these feelings that represent the world around you, but aren't actually the world around you.
Do you know what are weirdly the only CGI movies that I think somehow are able to get at that quality?
What's that?
And I obviously love many CGI movies. I think because of their commitment to the physical reality of what they're representing, the Lego movies feel like that for me.
Yeah, there's some of that. Yeah,
because they like
those.
are committed to like, we're gonna build the fucking models out of what would be actual bricks.
Yeah,
so that I feel that sense of like, even if it's digitally rendered, look at the idea of how that would exist.
I agree.
How
with
that would be built.
I love the look of those.
How that structure
Especially
would live. Right.
But so, in talking about My Neighbor Totoro and why I think it's so amazing is that's what I think is important about animation. That context, that feeling, right? But then in a lot of animated films, what you have is you have story that gets put on top of it. And as someone that's trying to make movies and make TV shows and things like that, I'm constantly wrestling with this idea that the world does not fit into story, right? The way that we live our lives, the way that we grow up, age, the moments we have, they're not story. There's almost never a villain. There's almost never a resolution. We all know that things are this morass of experiences and feelings that add up to something that feel important and feel like it has momentum to us. But if you really broke it down, rarely do things make this clear story. And so one of my problems with a lot of it's not a problem, but one of the things that is strange in a lot of movies, and especially the earlier Miyazaki movies before this, is it's like there's bad guys and there's good guys. And that's why like things like guns and weapons and all this stuff is so prevalent, is because it's a way to go, okay, there's this bad thing and here's this thing that can make the bad thing go. And it's like, it's these things that I don't think reflect reality necessarily. They're fun and I love stories and I love this stuff. And so this is not me saying I'm above this sort of, but when a movie is able to convey those feelings of what it's like to be a child and those
this is why I love this
feelings around what it's just like to live without there having to be a bad guy or a good guy, or even this movie really doesn't even have any real problems in it.
No, their mom is sick.
Yeah, but it's not clear to what extent. And
No,
it's
and
not, you know
from
what I
the
mean?
start of the movie, it's like she's kind of on the mend. She's getting better. They're going to release her soon.
Right, absolutely. But
the closest thing to a conflict is a sort of false alarm.
But that's
but
not
there
even,
is the child dread of that something is not right because mom's not here and she's been sick, and that's what I love. It's right. It's like there's not like someone who's like, I've kidnapped your mother.
But it's also interesting that the movie starts at the point where they're like, we've moved to be closer to her and she's going to get out soon. Right. So even if things are wrong, you're seeing the tail end of things being wrong, presumably.
Right. And I mean, when the first time I watched this movie, I was like, oh, is the mom going to die? Is this like a movie about...
Probably a reason I didn't like it as a child, because I hate movies about parents dying. Or I did at that age.
And I think that's what's so wonderful is that all these moments in this film that feel like they have anxiety and dread, it's not because someone said something. It's because as a kid, when you grow up, everything feels unusual and strange. And things that are different upset you.
Can I quote Hayao Miyazaki?
Yes.
That's right. I went back to my book.
Okay, so David's got 2 leather-bound volumes.
They're not leather-bound.
They both have a crest on them. A lion holding a scepter. Wait, where have I seen that before?
You bringing that back?
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Anyway, open up the book.
I recommend buying
Crest
these books,
is
by the way.
glowing.
Okay.
There are 2 books that are basically collections of any interview he ever gave, any essay he ever wrote, any speech he ever gave, like trying to collect like Hayao Miyazaki on the record as best as they can.
Right.
You know, and they're sort of anthologies. So the first one covers the first half of his career. The second one goes as far as I think like Howl's Moving Castle or something like that. I can find the
While
names.
he's looking, I just want to say I finally saw the clip of the animation company showing him the zombie like thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And him just like
Being
like
this
quietly
is an insult to life itself.
But then after you watch Totoro and then you see him watching it, you get why that person would be like, this is not.
Yeah.
Right. This is
not
unacceptable.
This is not why we create.
This is not what I. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is there
first
any-
one's called Starting Point. The second one's called Turning Point.
Is there any director we've covered who would like this podcast less?
Then Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
I don't see what the point of this is.
why am I hearing a distant boat horn?
So this is there's a very long interview that he gave about Totoro to somebody. And the guy brings up one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is the early scene where they're running around the empty house.
Yes. Oh my God.
And
It's such
they're-
a beautiful sequence.
Right. And here's what he says. We've all had that kind of experience. I like that scene. It's not an important one, but we would run around the house opening the door and being like, that's the toilet. It's not there. Like, it's really the child's world. When your kids do that in front of you, it's noisy, but I didn't have to use any director's tricks in the film. I made it wondering if I really was all right to use so few tricks because it was so easy to direct that.
Wow.
He's like, that's just like, you know,
Well,
me
like
tapping right into my actual life as a child and as a parent
and you just love
of a kid running around a big empty house.
And the older sister's running through, and then May, whatever she says, May says whatever word she heard, where she's like, shower,
Yes, right.
car, or whatever. And it's just like, it just is that childhood feeling.
That childhood feeling also when you move to a new place and it's empty, that it's so big. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I've never moved in a house before.
Is that a line?
No, I've
You
never
stayed in the,
Oh,
in
right.
the same house?
He's still in the Barry Jeans house.
Yeah.
Well,
I've
David,
never moved in a house
We
before.
need to get Ben a house.
A stash house.
Well, wait.
Ben needs 2 houses.
Well, were you about to set up a bit, Griffin?
House
No,
for his
I wasn't.
mustache.
I wasn't going to set up a bit, but as a genuine line of inquiry, you wouldn't have had that experience either because you grew up in New York City and you stayed there your entire life.
In apartments, right? So you
Yeah.
never had the experience of a house.
So I guess I'm the only one that's really moved.
Yeah.
So in 1995, I moved to England.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
So,
What?
David.
moved to Arlington Square in Islington, and we were there for 2 years. We were renting that.
David,
Islington?
what?
That doesn't sound like a place.
JD has thrown off his
Islington,
headphones.
not Dislington.
He's standing up in the corner.
Islington.
Dislington, David?
And then in 97, we were like, oh, I guess we're staying in England. Like,
What?
That was my reaction at the time. And because I had been told we were going to leave soon.
In Dislington?
No, so we moved to, we actually bought a house. We moved to Camden.
You left Dislington?
We did. We got, you know what? We got out of it. And we lived in Camden for the next 11 years.
But who's in Dislington then? Who's left in Dislington?
It's Islington, you
Who's in Dislington?
a lot of people.
No one's in Dislington. Dislington's empty now.
No, there's some people there. It's pretty hot neighborhood.
And so then you just stayed in
Camden.
In Camden? Yeah. And so Camden now is you. Dislington is no one. And then you just stay there?
Yeah.
Wait, there's
What?
there's a city called Camden, New Jersey. You're saying there's also a Camden elsewhere?
Borough of
What?
Camden in London. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Wait, what?
Wait a second, but the one that
The
you
neighborhood
moved,
was Kentish Town.
the one that you moved into was the one in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
The Camden, New Jersey, the one across the water
That's
from
the one
Philly.
you're saying you moved
No,
into.
the borough of Camden in London. England.
What? What?
God, this episode's gonna be so long.
I can't believe this.
For like an 80-minute movie.
I can't believe this.
Jesus Christ.
Golly.
Just to bring it back,
Golly,
I want to
Bob,
point out
howdy.
that the art director of this film is
Islington?
named. It's Islington.
What happened at Islington then? It just doesn't exist anymore.
So I want to talk about the subs versus dubs situation.
Please.
Because that's an often talked about thing.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to believe, obviously, the arguments are when you have dubs, you get to pay attention to the frame more actively. When you have subs, sometimes it's a more literal translation, and so it's more accurate to the spirit of the film, but your eye is drawn to the bottom. I think it's truly whatever you are in the mood to watch, whatever suits you in that moment.
Sure.
But I have some issues sometimes with how things are translated, which is an impossible task. And there's an article that I remember years ago us talking about when The Wind Rises came out that always rubbed me the wrong way a little bit and sort of summed up what I think the danger of.
The Wind Rises is the absolute worst one to see a dub, in my opinion. That's like a film set in Japan.
Yeah. So,
like that. There's no fantasy. There was a little, but like, it's mostly just a film set in a place.
So they did an article that I think posted on Vulture that was an interview with Gary Rydstrom, who was handling the dub.
Sure.
And there's sort of the whole point of the article is to talk about how careful and good he was at doing this thing, but there are examples.
Gary Rydstrom, who's like a legend.
Famous, many Oscars.
Yes.
But the
And
examples.
the voice of Wally.
That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But the examples actually.
Wally.
Wally.
Eva. I'm trying to remember the noises in Wally.
I just was going to say how long we were just.
7 Oscars he's got.
Wow.
All right.
That is the Pixar that feels the most Miyazaki to me in its own weird way.
Sure.
Like, it's not literally trying to go after it, but it
I think the
achieves
first
some of the
act
same.
is.
Yes, it's very.
So I want to read a quote from this article because the article is lauding it, but it sort of rubbed me the wrong way. So this is about The Wind Rises. The article says, "Oh, some moments were easier to massage than others. In one scene, Hiro and his engineer, a co-worker Hanjo, discuss the lag of Japanese industrialism. They relate their frustration to Achilles and the Hare, a paradoxical parable that Jones and Rydstrom were able to rewire into a mention of the tortoise and the hare, while keeping the thematic resonance intact. Those are two totally different fables. They both have hares in them.
Yeah.
But they're totally different fables that mean totally different things.
Okay. I agree with you.
And
I
I
think
think
the dubs are bad.
And I think one of the here's another one. Later in life, the two connect and fall for each other. The duo wrestled with one of Miyazaki's original lies. I've loved you since the day you rescued my hat. Jones found the line ambiguous. Had Hiro loved Nakano before that many years? Is he projecting feelings? We talked it over, and while culturally it might be romantic to a Japanese audience, I thought an American audience it might be a little creepy. But I understood the heart behind it. It was a matter of altering that line slightly. So Jones only changed the line to, I'm in love with you and nothing is going to stop me.
What? I've never watched the dub for that. I'm never watching the dub.
That is a colossally different line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another one where it's like...
he changed the line to, I'll have scrambled eggs and white toast.
You are my wife and we've been married for 25 years.
My name is Mr. Wind Rises.
There's a scene where Hiro's telling Nahoko's father that he wants to be with a daughter. And the literal Japanese translation is, please give us permission to date. That's not really romantic. So
Are we just going to keep reading from this article about a different movie?
We have 4 more hours to fill.
We changed it to, I love her very much and I sincerely hope you'll approve.
Okay.
I think that one of the things that's important about films, especially films that are distributed internationally, is that you're bringing with it the culture and the references and the customs of that world.
And I think
And that's
also,
how you learn about other places.
I think part of what's interesting about watching movies is seeing things you don't understand.
Exactly. And so when these things are changed to be more Americanized or to appear, like, I just think that takes away some of the magic of watching a film from someone that's part of a different culture.
I've told this story, I think, before in the podcast, but I went to see Your Name in theaters.
Great movie.
Which didn't get a very wide release.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But
in America.
In America, right. Everywhere else in the world, it was this fucking blockbuster.
Hugely successful in Japan.
And so I went to see it, and it was a theater that felt like 92% Japanese speak.
Oh, you told the story, right? And there was a reference,
and the movie is this
Right.
weird like body swap thing,
Right.
and there's a scene where the girl is in the body of the boy for the first time, and she's trying to like play along with her friends. She doesn't know what the fuck's going on, why she's in this boy's body, and they're asking her like what she's gonna have for lunch, and her answer is, as subtitled, in brackets, says female version of fish. And then the guys go, what?
Right.
And then she goes, I mean, brackets, says male version of fish.
Right.
And the audience exploded.
Right.
And I loved that whoever was subtitling was like, look, there's no way to translate this. I'm just going to explain to you what is happening.
Right.
Because there's no way I can put it into your language that will work. There's no equivalent thing. But I was like so appreciative that I saw that with an audience and heard the reaction.
That
it was
you're like, okay, yeah, that lands.
there's some perfect joke
Right.
that cannot work in any other language. And I understand that and I respect that. And I don't want them to be like, I'll have the pussy. I mean, the penis.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
that
that's
is pretty
That's
good.
fine.
I was missing that in Totoro.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get back to Totoro talk?
Yes, my
Yeah.
question, Ben, how did you like watching Totoro? This is your first time.
Yeah. It really got me.
Oh my god.
Oh, boy.
I cried really hard.
Kazuo Ogasan
Mhm.
was the art director of
Okay.
this film. And Miyazaki credits him
Yes.
with the look,
Hugely so.
especially the environment, the artwork of the movie, essentially. It is his artwork that allows such a thorough expression of the flavor of the world, is how he puts it.
It's so beautiful. And here's the other thing, too. It would be one thing to do a film that is just about all of these feelings of being a child and what it's like to have these childhood
And
experiences.
to move and be in the
Yeah.
countryside and, all that.
But what I love
Move somewhere.
is that Miyazaki...
I don't understand why you're putting such an emphasis on this. It's almost like there's a secret you're not telling us.
What? We already did the bit.
What bit?
Wait, what bit?
We talking.
You have a bit? What? A bit? You've been keeping a bit from us this whole time?
We just keep doing laughs the whole podcast. David's sort of checked out now mentally.
I'm a
He's
little
like
checked out.
a soldier coming back from war.
No, let's let Sims finish. Sorry, David.
No, you were talking.
I was interrupted by Griffin, who wanted to take us back to a bit we just did,
literally just did.
and we did it more than we needed
Did
to.
it very loud and long. Yeah. Really extended the bit.
Which bit are we talking
Oh no!
All right. This is like we're caught in like some wizard spell where we can't like escape the feedback loop.
we have to keep killing ourselves to retry this moment.
We're Kelsey Grammer in that Star Trek episode.
that's you didn't go Groundhog Day, not Russian Doll the Modern.
No, the
Happy
captain
Death
of the
Day.
USS Bozeman in the episode
Exactly.
Cause and Effect.
But Miyazaki
Mm.
takes all of his amazing ability in fantasy and imagination and harnesses it to highlight and enhance those childhood feelings.
Sure.
And he does it in a way where it is not, okay, now we're in this magical world, nor is it, okay, this stuff is all a dream. It sits in the same middle ground that is the feeling of childhood where to these characters, these things appear to be true and they are emotionally true.
Mhm.
As a viewer, you understand that they may not be literally true, but also it doesn't matter to you because it's all about the feelings of these experiences. And these characters and these sort of like mythologies exist to just explain how these feelings feel.
Mhm.
And I think in doing that, there's so many times I watch it where I just get taken back to being a child and I'm like, oh my God, I remember, holding my mom's hand in this one moment where I was nervous or, there's moments that just feel so, there's a moment in it where the older sister's at school and then May shows up with Granny and it's like, oh, she's been crying all day.
Right.
And May won't say anything. She's just
It's
crying.
totally right.
And then finally when she sees her sister, she like buries her head in her.
Such a good scene.
And it's like, I remember those moments I remember when I moved to a new school and it was with new kids and my sister was in the same school and I was just so terrified. And I just kept asking the teacher if I could see my sister and finally the teacher, literally like that scene, brought me into the hallway and was like, Katie, here's your brother. And I just like, I didn't want her to do anything. I just wanted her to be there to be like, it's okay. I'm here for you.
Wow. Wow.
There's this thing I think about all the time. It was some like retrospective 50th anniversary or 20th anniversary or whatever. Like
this movie or
no, of Dazed and Confused with Linklater.
Sure.
And it was like he had done like Slacker, and then that was the period of time where if you made one independent movie, they'd be like, well, obviously you get to make a $7 million studio comedy.
Right.
So he does Dazed and Confused, and he said the day when they were shooting all the kids after the baseball game having to like sort of like apathetically do the good game, good game. The executives were like, what the fuck? We don't need this.
Right.
Like, cut this.
Yeah.
This is not important. It doesn't advance the story at all. And he was like, this is the whole movie.
Yeah, sorry. Like, this is unfortunately what you've signed up for.
Right, but it was like his whole philosophy to the movie
Right.
is that like you have to put all these things in that everyone else cuts out of the movie.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem important. But when you see those moments and you're like, wow, that's this thing I have such a like physical memory of doing over and over again. In the same way that like just like running up and hugging somebody crying when you're a child and you can't express what's going on. Or like looking around the house in that way, just like immediately connects you to a film. And it's like, this is the stuff that everyone else cuts out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And on that note, I'd like to cross off another thing on my list and talk about an experience that's very similar to that, which was a new experience in cinema for myself that Griffin actually was the one who introduced me to.
Oh, boy.
And I don't know, David, if you've had this experience, or Ben, if you've had this experience.
I don't know what the experience is.
But I saw Godzilla King of Monsters in 4DX.
Oh, yeah, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that. Ben, I believe, has done it.
Have you
Ben
yet to see a 4DX movie?
I have yet to see a 4DX.
Ben and I have seen 2 or 3 together.
Yeah, I think about 2.
I think I've seen over 10 in total.
I go to a lot of press screenings, you know, and they don't.
Oh my God! If they did a 4DX press screening, that would be my favorite.
That would be an interesting move to be like
everyone
strap
with
in,
everyone with their little
David
notebooks
Edelstein
getting shot in the face with water.
Do you want to get wet, or do you not want to get wet?
Ben, have you done 4DX?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
you
God.
guys saw Batman V Soups.
We saw Spider-Verse and 4DX together, and
Did
I feel
you?
like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
one more.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
We've seen a couple 4DX.
So you guys saw Godzilla King of the Monsters.
So I would like to explain my experience. Griffin and I wanted to get together as friends do.
Hey, we're friends.
And
We like friending.
we said, let's go see a movie. And Griffin said, would you like to see Godzilla King of Monsters? And I
We
went,
usually, knowing that JD and I have diverse tastes and sometimes have interest in a movie that no one else is interested in for 1 or 2 reasons.
Sure.
We usually try to find a movie that's like, no one else is going to see this.
Let's be each other's
with us. Right.
only.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, right. Yeah.
Let's go see Happy Time Murders because we both feel the obligation.
Exactly. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go see Godzilla King of Monsters. The first Godzilla was actually sort of fun.
It's a great movie.
And Griffin's like, great, here's the time, here's the thing. And he's like, also, you should know, I got us 4DX tickets.
Well, first I said, are you okay with doing
Yeah,
4DX? Right. It's playing at 4DX, and my recommendation is we do 4DX.
And here's my thing.
I did run it past you.
But here's my thought, is I thought that he was talking about RPX.
Sure.
Which is just when it's like
a Regal premium experience.
They charge you a little more for a slightly better projector.
Yeah, you have a better projector and a bigger seat.
Right.
Okay? This was not the case.
No.
We walk into the theater. David, have you ever been in one of these 4DX theaters?
Oh, boy.
Why would I have been?
There are 3 seats.
I can't believe we're not seeing Lion King at 4DX.
Attached.
I'm so happy we're not seeing Lion
I'm
King.
so angry about that.
Attached to one another.
Okay.
On hydraulics.
Yes, right. That I know. Right.
You have to put a seatbelt on.
You fucking better.
You've got a control panel on your thing that lets you know, do you want the smells? Do you want the to ask if you want the whole thing?
Yeah.
So I sit down, Griffin, what was the experience of how would you describe me in this situation?
You were very worried. I mean, like, I remember when we went to see Billy Lynn together.
Yes.
And you were like, what is this going to feel like? And I was like, I don't know. We don't know. And then the second it started, you turned to me and you were like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this.
Yes.
And you had that same sort of trepidation. You were like, how much is this going to be a thing? It felt like sort of like I was your parent and we're about to go on your first like thrill ride or something.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're getting buckled in.
Okay.
And I'm like, I've done this a lot. It's not going to be that extreme. It moves around, but it's not like relentless. Here's
Griffin's
what to
talking
know.
me off the edge.
Right.
Okay.
And then
Keep talking. I'm sorry. Keep talking.
the first thing they do when the lights come down, I've seen a lot of 4DX movies. This is new. They now have a little pre-show thing that's
Right, like a
like the
ride.
Regal ride.
Yeah.
But it's showing someone who feels like the 4DX is so thoroughly placing them in the movie that they are in a car zooming down the highway in the middle of an action sequence. And so immediately 40X is doing everything.
Right. They're like
it's
like the THX like where they're like let's show you the full power of 40X.
And the thing that if you've never done 40X, here's all the features. There are smells. The seats move on hydraulics.
We have talked about 40X in this podcast.
It shoots you in the face with water.
I've
It
heard,
shoots you in the sky with water. It punches you in the back with little hands.
It punches you in the sky.
Then it does stuff with your ankles.
Right.
It's a crazy experience.
Tickles you.
It tickles you.
Right.
When it sprays you directly in the face with water, it's jarring.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Sure.
Griffin, it just shot me in the face. And Griffin goes, yeah, they don't do it very often. But I saw the trailer of this movie, and
there's a lot of water in this.
He goes,
movie,
mostly
right?
rain.
I think it's raining the whole movie, so
Yeah.
we might be in trouble.
It's either raining or they're in the ocean.
They had previously always done this thing in 40X where there's just like a sprinkler above your head.
Yeah.
But for Godzilla, they amped it where they were like the bar in front of you that usually releases the smells now also shoots water into your face like the Joker's flower.
JD, how many of the table of contents have we done and how many remain?
We have 2 and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I literally cleared my whole schedule. For
Yeah,
this.
we have 6
all
left.
right, so you're saying it was 8 total and we're 1/4 of the way through.
Yeah, I thought it was 10. I don't know where 2 of them went.
Griffin, what are you doing on your phone now?
No, I was.
Well, here's the thing.
Texting with my manager about a job I didn't get.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Here's what's tough. I believe My Neighbor Totoro is one of the great films. I have very little funny things to say about it or content to say other than I think it is a brilliant, beautiful film.
Well, it's fine because this is a podcast known for its seriousness and its brevity.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do we want to talk more Totoro or do we want to do another chapter?
Let's talk about Totoro. Let's get some Totoro time.
Because I think we got to give the audience a little back and forth.
Yeah.
Totoro.
This is like Nashville. We're spinning a bunch of different narratives and they're all going to come together at the end.
Right, and I'm that guy. Oh, fuck, I wish I remembered his name because that'd be fun.
Who?
I feel like
Michael Murphy?
Yeah.
I
think
I feel like David's the lead of what's the Coen Brothers movie with the tornado?
Oh, serious.
I'm like Michael Stolberg.
Yes.
Right.
We're like
Griffin's the tornado.
Just everything keeps happening. David's like, I am a serious man. And the world is falling down around him. There's David Sims of the Atlantic.
Oh, boy. David Sims of theatlantic.com.
Can I say
That's
one of
me.
my favorite things is that David Sims is you're part of the whatever New York Film Critic.
I'm part of the New York Film Critics Circle, which is
Sure.
like a huge, prestigious honor for me.
Yes,
Right.
and David is also the film critic for the Atlantic.
That's right.
And this podcast,
Another huge, prestigious honor for me.
I think there is a supercut you can make in this podcast
You've told me that you want to do this on your own time.
of just the things David has said
That would like fully cancel me.
When you go like, this movie is poop!
Yeah, there was some movie where I was talking.
Just like me at my most
You're
juvenile.
you're like, this movie is poop out my butt, and I'm like,
this is a man who's paid to write about film.
Well, and this is also like this is the exact
and not by like buttpoop.com, but by like an August institution that was founded by Ralph Waldo Emerson and Harriet Beecher Stowe and people like that.
And like
they were like, yes, a journal of letters it shall be. And
This
like
movie looks like a
150
bowl
years
of
later, I'm
farts.
like,
and I just love that it's like this is like exhibit A for why no serious person should ever have a podcast, because once you get past like the first real things you have to say, then you're just like, I don't know, RoboCop's a big poo poo butt. Poop, poop, poop,
wait,
poop,
I would
poop.
never say that about RoboCop.
Yeah.
Maybe RoboCop 2.
Yeah, not a good
Maybe
movie.
the RoboCop remake.
Yeah, not a good movie.
Right. Are they
Anyways.
remaking it again?
No, it's the fucking Neil Blomkamp movie.
Oh, so it's like a sequel to the first?
It's the
He's
sequel
doing the
that
Halloween.
Paul Verhoeven never got to make.
Right.
Except Paul Verhoeven could make it.
He's alive.
He keeps on saying, like, I keep asking myself what Paul Verhoeven would do. That's my philosophy for this movie.
Right.
So there's just a lot of naked women and a
I don't know
lot
what
of
the
weird.
fuck this movie's going to be. And he says he'll only do it if Peter Weller does it. I have a feeling Peter Weller's not going to agree to do it.
How old is Peter Weller?
800?
Once you tell us Peter Weller's age, we can move on.
72.
Wonderful. I don't think he's
Younger than I
RoboCop
thought.
anymore.
Really?
Younger than I thought.
Older than Samuel Jackson.
Older than Samuel Jackson, but only by 2 years.
Huh?
Interesting. That's an interesting game.
Older or younger than Samuel Jackson?
Yeah.
Sure. Most of the country, younger. All right. So in
Okay.
My Neighbor Totoro, they meet fucking Totoro. He's a big old guy.
Okay.
So Ben,
How do you feel about that?
Takes
I
a
wanna
long
hear-
time to meet him.
I
yes,
want to.
you do. 25 minutes in, you realize the mom is sick. And I would say, what, like...
Do you want to know what their inspiration was?
35 minutes in? Well,
I think you don't see Totoro on screen until after
maybe 40.
The inspiration.
Yeah. Well, first you see the little guy.
Right. But I don't think you see him.
A little Totoro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I can give you a Miyazaki quote, but you go ahead and tell me.
Is it about the movie that inspired them to have Totoro show up later?
No. Oh, no, not at all.
The movie that... So originally Totoro was going to be in the first scene.
Sure.
As the opener to the movie. Like, here he is, Totoro, the man himself.
Yeah.
But then, I believe it was like Takahata, Miyazaki, they're talking.
Takahata, who released Scare of the Fireflies, I believe, on the same day as this movie? Certainly the same year.
So, maybe.
Yes.
And then someone else, they're talking, and they're like, no, it's like E.T.
Oh, sure.
You don't see E.T. until like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, for at least 40 minutes in.
I love that E.T. was there like, yeah, we got to do an E.T. on
It'd be funny if it was the third man. It's like,
Yeah.
he's kind of the Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a big boy.
I mean, and you get teases of him earlier, but Beetlejuice does a similar thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing that we've talked about in this movie, which I always find very effective, where you build up a character.
This, right? Was it the same year?
Beetlejuice is 88.
Yeah, same year.
I just always find that effective. All these examples we're talking about, where it's like there's a titular character who the movie is sort of like priming you for. This whole thing's going to shift when they enter, and you hold off bringing them in for as long as you can.
Here's Miyazaki on the Totoro.
Yes.
The Totoro are goblins of the transitional plane, where Japan hasn't become entirely modernized. Because this movie is set in the 50s-ish,
Yeah,
but it's not really defined, right? And it's set in this place that by the time Totoro has come out, like this kind of place, these sort of farmlands by the mountains were like going extinct, and this movie kind of revived interest in like, oh yeah, that's like an environment we should protect. Like that sort of way of life is something we should like consider as like part of Japanese life. But that's why, for example, it makes sense to me. This is him again. It makes sense to me that the cat goblin has turned into a bus, because it's like modernity is sort of seeping into the fantasy world. You know what I mean? So like it's still a magical cat creature, but it's now this sort of like industrial shape.
Sure.
And it like behaves like a, post-war kind of invention.
Right. I mean, I love Cat Bus. Cat Bus is my
pretty cool
favorite element of the film. I was going to say, reading the Wikipedia, he was very stubborn about this film getting dubbed, and that he didn't want any non-exact translations. Because I guess he had gone through with Nausicaa and with Castle in the Sky, people trying to go like, well, this reference doesn't make sense culturally.
So let's find like an American version of that reference.
He didn't like the music and the edits on Castle in the Sky, all these sorts of things. And Totoro is, as a name, a play on the notion of troll, right? I mean, it's like a thing where there's the scene where she's explaining why she's calling him Totoro, and it doesn't work in the English language.
Right.
And they were like, can we rename the character so that it makes sense? And he's like, no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. David.
Yeah.
Looking pretty hot.
Thank you.
Yeah, David, looking hot.
Oh, please.
Hashtag hot David 2019. What's your secret?
Well, getting in shape isn't just about losing weight.
Yeah, of course, we all know that.
You got to learn healthier habits. You got to feel better about yourself. Maybe get some more stamina for your busy life.
Yep.
Maybe you want to fit into some gold jeans.
Berry jeans.
Maybe you want to fit into some buried jeans. Maybe you just want to practice some more self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care and self-care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, you're just listed like 18
I know,
different
it's hard
things. How many apps do I have to download now? One for self-care, one for fashion.
No. Noom.
What?
Noom.
Yep.
It's a training app. It's a workout app.
Okay.
It's a calorie tracker. It gives you meal plans. It has a goal specialist.
What,
and it has a community of members that'll keep you motivated and accountable.
Like 18 different Nooms?
One app.
It's all in one app?
Yes.
Oh, my God. I didn't think.
Yeah, so David told me about
You're using Noom, right?
I'm using
we
Noom.
We Noomed you up.
You Noomed me.
Yeah.
And what I love about the service is that it's a new approach to being held accountable for having like a healthier lifestyle.
And you need accountability.
Yeah. Because if it was left up to me, I wouldn't wear clothes.
Right.
I would constantly be smoking a cigarette or weed.
Yep.
I would be unhealthy.
In bad shape.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd be unhealthy.
Because I gotta say, right now, I'm looking at Hot Ben 2019.
Yeah.
No disputing it.
Yes. I feel like what this has provided for me is it's an opportunity, like I said, to be held accountable and to make it's just fun to know that as I'm starting to see progress that I'm getting rewarded and
for your habits,
incentivizing
for like good habits.
to continue to stick with it.
Better self-care, feeling confident in clothing, more energy, able to make healthy choices, self-worth, better mood, controlling stress.
But then David told me about it, and I was like, oh, great. This is going to take so much time out of my day.
What, 15 years I got to commit to this thing before I start seeing any results?
No, it's 10 minutes.
What?
It's so easy. 10 minutes out of your day.
That's like one story from an episode of Rugrats. Remember how they fit 2.5 hours long?
Dexter's Lab did that.
That's like a full. I mean, you're getting like a full Rugrats narrative in the time that you're handing over to Noom per day, and look at how much they're giving you back.
And they say it's based on cognitive behavioral approaches.
That's what they say.
I just say it works. You don't have to change it all in one day. Small steps make big progress. Sign up for your trial today at Noom, Noom.com/check. What do you have to lose? Visit Noom.com/check. Start your trial today. That's Noom.com/check. It's the last weight loss program you'll ever need. When were you crying? When was the
what
the
got you?
emotional?
What were you
Because this is a
feeling?
movie a lot of people tell me they cry at. This is actually one of the Miyazakis I do not cry at.
Interesting.
There are a couple of Miyazakis that just like there's a moment every time that's like a button is pushed and I'm like, oh right. For some reason, maybe because I didn't watch this movie as a kid, that doesn't.
Yeah.
But well, yeah. So when were you?
Just like the whimsical moments with the kids and the spirits.
Ben loves
Yeah.
that whimsy.
Ben Hosley, you should call him Ben Wimsley.
Sometimes Griffin looks kind of like he's concentrating on something, and I'm like, oh, and then that's what he was concentrating
Doing
on.
that.
Right.
It's Winona Ryder on the Emmy stage, and I'm just doing all the. Wait a second.
The last time I watched was a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but like a couple of years ago. And so I grew up with two older sisters. I recently lost one of my sisters, which has been a very hard experience for me. And watching this movie, because it tapped into those childlike feelings, did bring back a lot of those feelings of like.
Had you seen it since your sister passed?
No.
Wow. Okay.
And it was just, I don't know. It especially if you grew up with siblings, or grew up as a kid around other kids, or had that feeling of being alone out in the world, like out in. Because there's so much of this movie that is maybe not even relatable to some modern kids because
they're just going out of the house and no one's like even checking on them.
Yeah,
they're
like
just sort of running around.
Like there's the moment when May tells her dad, like, "Do I look like a grown up?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "All right, I'm going off to do errands."
Right.
And he's like, "Whatever." And like she's
the
just
dad who is a classic Miyazaki man, where he's just like kind of a dope. He's got glasses.
He's
like,
sweet though.
He's very sweet. Miyazaki men are usually sweet, but they're usually kind of dopey.
Yeah. But
God, wait till you'll see Kiki Griffin.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
I don't know. There's just so much that resonates and so much that feels emotionally true, and little moments that you're like, yeah, I remember that feeling. I don't know. I think it's a really, really, really special movie. It's like a movie like Inside Out. Remember, like there's a big tear-jerking moment when the imaginary friend, sacrifices himself or whatever. And that's great, but it's so on the nose and it's forcing that out of you. Where this, it has moments that are expressing those same thoughts without having to have it be this big, perilous experience.
And also,
I love
Totoro
Inside
doesn't
Out.
do anything.
Yes. I love Inside Out, but it's a very literal movie.
Yes.
About very abstract things.
Which is the Pixar experience
That's the Pixar
often, where
thing.
they're like, right, let's take an abstract thing and
Right.
sort of make it a system.
Right.
Which I like. Like, I mean, that appeals to me in a certain way.
So
like,
do you know, I love WALL-E. I think it's a
WALL-E.
masterpiece. I think it's way up there.
I think it's the top non-Brad Bird Pixar movie for me.
Wally Shawn.
I love Wally Shawn.
What if Wally did a Master Builder? He is a Master Builder.
Wally Shawn.
My dinner with Wally.
My dinner with Wally.
My dinner with
Wally. All right, so you love Wally.
What I was going to say is, I know a lot of people think like, well, but then it drops way off. I agree with you. I think the first 40 minutes of Wall-E are, for me, as good as any movie that's ever been made.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then the remainder of it, I think, is incredible and only fails to live up to the first 40 minutes.
I would agree with
which
that
is
too. I think the
at a next
remainder
level.
gets a bit of a bad rap.
I do too. I think it's too hard.
But it's certainly not as, certainly the first half of that movie is.
But I have heard Andrew Stanton say that their goal was to keep it nonverbal.
Right.
And that once they got to the spaceship, that humans had devolved so much they didn't have language anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they spoke to each other just in grunts. And I wish they had been able to pull off that fucking movie.
Why didn't they pull that
Because
off?
that feels like the fact that Wally and Eve can't talk to each other makes it have that Miyazaki-esque quality. And that so much of like the history of it is just sort of sold through like the background and being able to understand like the history through like the amount of wear and age and things. If they had gotten up there and no one was fucking talking, I would think it was the greatest movie ever made.
Now here's
fair.
a metric.
You know who's cute though?
Mo?
Eva.
All of them are cute.
No, I know, but she's a real David. What's Eva?
Bossy round face.
I mean, she is.
David's
her face is
out.
round.
His number one crush type is bossy round face.
Okay, don't ever tell any of your crushes that.
Yeah, definitely. I won't. Yeah, good point. Won't mention it.
Porky would get really upset.
A metric.
Round face.
Round face.
A metric that I think separates incredible filmmaking, just like true, beautiful filmmaking from stuff that's fine, is when the story is told just through the images, right?
Yes.
So the entire movie of Totoro started, the inspiration for it was a drawing that Miyazaki drew, which was Totoro and the girl. At the time, it was one girl
with the umbrella
at the bus stop.
Yeah. That was the image that was so burned in my head from a movie I watched 25 years ago.
Right. It's the poster image, I feel like, or at least a poster image, and it is such an indelible image. Yeah.
But I think you could also cut out all of the dialogue scenes in this and just have it be the scenes, and you would
like
still.
The dialogue,
oh
though.
yes.
Yeah.
I think it's all perfect.
Right,
but I'm just saying,
very true to life.
I think it still tells the same story, just the images. I think you could even take stills from this movie and put them together, and it would still resonate in very similar ways and tell the same feelings to an audience. I don't know. I just think it's so brilliant. And in fact, now that I think about it, that's why I like Kurosawa's Dreams, is that there's so many shorts that have these images that are just these beautiful images, I think, tell the entire story in an image. And I think, like, when you find a film that's really great, you can pull an image and go, this is the entire story just in one image, right there.
So yeah, as you say, there was initially one daughter.
Yeah.
For some reason, it evolved into two. I think partly was like,
the big thing was that he wanted to explore both that childlike play and the sense of
it's
duty.
Time to grow up fast.
Yeah,
right.
And it was hard to do it with one kid.
So he wanted May, the little girl, to meet Totoro first because he feels like she wouldn't be scared of Totoro because Totoro's kind of scary.
Yeah.
She's amped when she meets Totoro.
Right. She's in that area of childhood where you're still like, seems cool.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful moment when she comes up to him and you're expecting it to be this scary moment or this moment that's so played out in most cinema where it's like, ooh, they're scared at first, but it's actually a gentle beast. It's like,
that's E.T. That's like the exact E.T. meeting.
But it's immediately she's just so comfortable
like,
and
this
laughing.
Guy rules.
Yeah.
She's like, it's like when a really little kid meets like someone for the first time and they just give them a hug and are like, yeah, I like this person.
Yeah.
Since he is Lord of the Forest, Totoro can hear the joyous voices of the plants. He would love the rain, especially if it's rain falling during a rainy season. We think of him enjoying the plop plop sound of raindrops with a leaf on his head. And so when he gets the umbrella, apparently Miyazaki's concept is like he thinks it's a musical instrument. Like he doesn't understand why you would need an umbrella.
Right.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
But he thinks it's like it's good amplification for the raindrops.
Exactly. He's like, let's do some awesome shit with this.
He's like, oh, this is a good idea. It sounds cool.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind being rained on. He's like a forest goblin.
He's
so he's
Lord
cool.
of the Forest?
That is what Miyazaki said.
That's cool.
This interview is wild, where he's just like, anyway, they're forest goblins. And he's the Lord of the Forests.
He also talks a lot where he's like, I don't know. I don't want to get in the mythology. They are just what they are. Like, he sort of waves off a lot of that stuff, too, where he's not like, here's the rules, and this. He's like,
no.
He's like, no, they represent, the whole thing's about being a kid.
And to the extent that he's like, I don't even want it to be specific that it's a dream or not a dream.
Sure.
Right, yeah.
But in a movie that is 87 minutes long with a long opening and closing credit sequence.
Which is one of my favorite parts of, especially like Japanese animated films from like the 80s. And it still happens now to this day in a lot of anime. Where I just love the opening title, like animation sequence where it's like its own little short film or its own little thing.
Your Name does that. It has like an opening like music video.
Yes, it's a classic anime.
But in a movie that's probably, about 80
short.
minutes with those two like musical credit sequences removed, I think Totoro's in 10 minutes top. in terms of him being on screen.
I think
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
accurate.
Yeah.
It's kind of
He really
nuts.
only has like 2 set pieces and then a couple other appearances.
No, do you guys remember what the video cover for the Fox VHS release was?
No.
Look it up because it sells.
Isn't it him?
It's him
flying with them riding him,
and it looks like he's like saving them. It's almost like a never-ending story.
Oh,
kind of thing.
yeah, right.
Like it
right.
really makes it look like an adventure movie.
Right.
Right?
And it's got like every creature they can cram in
Right.
there. Yeah.
Right. They're riding his belly.
Right.
Yeah.
and the original distributor of My Neighbor Totoro
Was
Troma Entertainment.
alma mater of J.D. Amato.
Oh, sure. Right.
But so
And
they were
many
the
others.
first distributor. They had a different distribution arm that wasn't named Troma. It was called like 50th Street Films.
Yes.
They distributed through that, and then at some point, Miyazaki and Ghibli were like, "Wait, who are these people?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh no, no, Disney, you can do this." But so there's still these amazing posters you can get in the world that are My Neighbor Totoro with a Troma logo on the
A
corner.
little toxy.
Yeah.
There's this whole sequence where he talks this in the interview where he talks about how he animated running.
Mm.
And the classic way was to do 6 frames of 2 frames each,
Right.
like spring, move, land, right,
Uh-huh.
like something like that. And how he's like, that's not how children run. So
Yeah.
he wanted it to look all different and much more chaotic.
Yeah.
He's fucking great. Children aren't conscious of wanting to run; they just want to get somewhere quickly. That's how he puts it.
That's a really, really good
He,
observation.
I mean, when you watch those making ofs or any kind of document, he's so focused on movement,
Yes.
reflecting character. Like he to the point that he seems like sometimes sort of gets hung up on it, where he's like, not quite. You know what I mean? Like he's like, no, it needs to breathe differently or whatever. Like he really wants all the movement to be good, and then he hates things like explosions or really big, loud things. Like,
which is why I think it's so interesting that, like, before this, he does Nausicaa,
right,
and Castle in the Sky,
which are more
and
action
Cagliostro,
adventure,
which are all 3 are action
Yeah.
films. I mean, and they have explosions and vehicles and all these sorts of
Nausicaa's
things.
like
Vehicle
guns
chases.
and
Right,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And this is just I theorize too that when you have filmmakers who work in imagination and fantasy and such big visual things so much, oftentimes I find my favorite films of theirs are the ones where they ground it in reality, and then you see those, like, that's why I like Big Fish so much,
Right.
And like I think
Like
grounding that stuff in
Heavenly
reality.
Creatures, like those movies
Yeah.
where it's like, here's someone who can go totally bug nuts, making a movie that's like 90% reality,
Right.
is always really fascinating, or even 70% reality.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Should we do another chapter on your fucking list?
Yeah, sure. I'll let you guys.
We can
just
pick.
pick one.
Okay.
Okay.
This is a big follow up.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
Big follow up.
there's a
Big
big follow up
follow-up.
to news that we broke in the last episode.
Oh my god.
This is the the Star Meter Report.
Only you care about this.
So I just want to point out Keiko the Whale has not been unseated as the tallest actor of all time,
Wow.
according to the IMDb.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay.
Topsy Elephant still number 2.
Is Topsy the one?
The one that Edison electrocuted to
of
death,
course.
right?
Yes,
right.
Topsy. And so I wanted to follow up, though,
Good actor.
on Topsy. Since we last recorded,
Mhm.
Topsy has moved up about 200,000 spots
Wow.
on the star meter.
So you think that's us, like
Do you think
people
it's a blank
searching?
check, Bob?
No, I'm saying I think Topsy's hot.
Oh, you don't think it's because of blank check? You just
No.
think it's general word on the street?
You think we're not leading the Topsy wave? We're riding it.
Topsy's got buzz.
He's been taking generals.
Can I
around
ask
town.
what Topsy's all-time highest rank is?
Yes, I'll tell you that in just a second.
Okay, sorry.
We have Keiko the Whale.
Mhm.
Keiko is down from the last time we recorded, but
Wow.
up this week.
Okay.
So Keiko's
All right, can we do
long since dead. Long since dead.
It's a bummer.
Highest Topsy's ever been.
The highest Keiko's ever been was in 2003, November. Got up to top 1,000.
Was that when Keiko died?
Right.
I mean, we don't like to
Rip.
talk about that.
On this list, does it say how the highest I've ever been?
It probably does. I can look you
Definitely
up.
up there.
I'm sure you're pretty high up there. Topsy's highest was November 2014,
Okay.
when Topsy got a 4-week high of 108,000.
Wow.
So let's see, Ben Hosley. Let's see where you're at.
Ben Hosley, right now you're 716,485 on the star meter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but what's the highest Ben's ever been?
The highest.
Really high.
The highest.
You hit.
Ben, he's gotten real high.
You hit
on the weekend.
222,064
No, he was above that. I think.
Really?
No, maybe that's it.
in July 2018.
July 2018. You were 200.
All right, let's see Griffin.
Okay.
Griffin. Oh, you're not on IMDb. I'm kidding.
Oh, IMDb just is like why bother? It's just.
Can I tell you my guess?
Yes.
My guess is the highest I've ever been.
Ooh, you're pretty high right now.
Really?
I mean, you're not great.
Well,
9,300.
9,300. That's pretty
Hey.
good. Ooh. Did you see?
no.
What do you think your highest
I can
is?
see the peak. I can't see any of the data.
When do you think the highest you've ever been is?
When do I think it was, or how high do I think it
Both.
was? I think it was October 2017.
Yeah, ish.
Around that time. Okay.
It's like between July and September 2017.
Right, that's like tick.
Okay.
You hit
So,
600s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
600. Okay.
There were only 622 people more famous than you
At
during
that point in
week.
time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, can we do
Wow.
a different chapter because that was so disappointing?
No, well, here's the other thing. So, something that I found
Yeah.
in the Star Meter report. Also, I want to say Wilson the volleyball down this week. Wilson the volleyball not doing well this week.
How is Donald Kaufman? I'm trying to think of other fully fictional IMDb entries.
So, you can also rank the Star Meter report by special
How is this going on?
by special skills. So you can figure out who the most famous person is with a special skill. And one of the special skills is accents.
Okay, wait. Can I try to? I want to pause this for 1 second.
Yes.
I'd like to broker a deal.
Okay.
David,
Not be about fucking
JD will agree to end this bit immediately if you go to 40X
I
at
don't
6
want to go to
o'clock.
40. Stop.
Okay, or I'll end it immediately if you can guess who the most who the biggest celebrity right now is that can do the robot. Because IMDb will tell us. We'll click robot,
Okay. Sort by
robot.
by dance style equals
Robot.
robots and ranking. Okay, David, you might be able to get this. And this is a fair offer. We'll end it immediately if you can pick who the highest ranking actor is.
If
who
not,
can-
we're doing another.
I'll say this. It's like someone.
Do I get like a hint or?
Yeah, here, I'll give you a couple hints. I don't want to give you too many, but I'll say this. It's not like a surprising one.
No.
It's not like that person could do the robot. You're like, that
I've
feels
seen
like,
that person do the robot.
I think it's very likely you have seen this person do the robot, and there's someone who is pretty au courant.
pretty au courant.
Like, it isn't like a cast member from Break-In. Like, this is
Yeah,
someone
no, I
who's like
understand.
a current rising star
Yeah.
who, if they have not done the robot,
Or according to
they've
IMDb.
probably shown enough similar skills that you're like, that's in their repertoire.
I don't know.
I'd say it's an emerging leading man, has been the lead of a TV show, has been the lead of a live action film, and has been the lead of an animated film.
Okay. I mean, good clue.
Biggest celebrity that can do the robot right now, this week.
Lead of an animated, lead of an independent film that was kind of a crossover, lead of a TV series.
Like this year, there was an independent film that was kind of across.
No, those are in the last couple. The order was independent film, then TV show, then animated film. Those are the three biggest projects, and I feel like everyone's still waiting for like the huge thing. But like for people like us, it's like this is one of the guys who's going to be with us for decades.
Is there a person of color?
Correct.
Yeah.
And don't forget, he can do the robot.
He can do the robot.
This
And
is the robot.
Ben is
Ben's
showing
doing the robot.
Doing the robot. I see.
Love
Right.
that dance.
Right.
Do you want one last hint?
Yeah,
Want me to
sure.
do it again? The robot.
Go ahead. Yeah, give me a hint.
The animated film is the biggest in all regards.
The biggest in all regards.
Yeah.
So Incredibles
Critically-
2.
No, not biggest in all regards of animated films.
Oh.
I'm saying biggest in all regards of his career. Most critically well received, most successful.
Why is that such a
Biggest
good
role.
clue? That and now I'm like, fuck.
It's a good clue.
Yeah, now I'm like, why don't I know?
And
Oh.
he is the
And
guy.
don't forget, he can do the robot.
He can do the
apparently.
robot, but he is the guy in the movie.
He's the guy in the movie?
In the animated movie.
What's his name? God damn it. What's his name? I know his name. Fuck. I'm thinking of Spider-Verse. Am I crazy?
You're not crazy.
What the fuck is his name, though?
If you say the name, the Star Media Report will be over.
It's over. All you gotta do is say the name.
I was going to show you the most famous person who can do a Japanese accent. The answer will surprise you.
Well, I actually want to know that.
It's Mickey Rooney.
Shamik Moore.
Yep.
That's his name.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Star Media Report's
Well
over.
done.
Is it Dope?
I was saying
Was
Dope, the Get
is the
Down,
indie movie? Right.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse. I was saying those.
Spider-Verse.
Right?
Yes. He is the #1 robot doer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that surprising to you?
I think that took like 5 minutes.
All right,
Who
ended
does
the
the #1 Japanese, though?
You want to know?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Let me unclick robot.
My guess is still Mickey Rooney.
Oh, the answer is not good for anybody.
Oh, dear.
That's why that's my
No,
guess because
it's a
it's not
bummer.
going to be someone who is
If you're looking
Japanese.
if you're looking for a
who
Japanese
can
I
accent,
understand.
if you're
Not
looking for a
someone
Japanese
who has a
accent,
Japanese
I
accent.
the person that you should hire the
It's
most.
not Newt Gunray, is it?
Oh wait.
Okay,
That wasn't the one that it was before. It changed since I last looked.
it changed.
I think.
Who was it before and who is it now?
Wait. Oh no, that's spoken languages. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Accents.
accents.
Oh my God, Jamaican would be bad too. I bet. Okay, Japanese.
I just want to be clear. None of them would be good.
And once again, the segment has ended. I want to make it very
Yes, this is
clear
not part of the segment.
that This is not
This is the
part of
after show.
segment.
This is the after
The
show.
segment has ended.
Ben's crying.
This is a really, really bad
Okay.
result.
This is.
This is like, it's like a bummer. We're just going to be bummed out.
If you're going for a Japanese accent, this is who IMDb says this is the hottest person you could get for a Japanese accent.
It's particularly bad because I cannot pull when they would have done this accent. It's not even like, oh,
All right, who is it? Who is it?
It is
He has starred in multiple TV shows.
Now, who is it?
Disney Channel star Dylan Sprouse.
Oh, that's a bummer. I don't know. Yeah, you mean one of Zach and Cody? Zach and or Cody?
It's the one who isn't Jughead, right?
Is that the one who isn't? Cole is.
Cole is Jughead. Yeah.
Isn't Dylan Sprouse like
IMDb.
retired?
I think he's kind of retired. Yeah.
IMDb.
He identifies as a heathen?
That's
kinda
so
rules.
funny.
That's like the third sentence in his Wikipedia page.
Okay. Once again, the Star
He
Meter,
identifies as a heathen.
the Star Meter segment's over. We're on the
This is-
after show.
This is not the Star Meter
This
segment.
is not
What
the
does that mean?
It's when I click on it, it's a heathenry, a new religious movement called German neo-paganism.
Can you do Yiddish, JD? I just saw that Yiddish is not.
All right, enough.
It's the
Enough.
after
This
show.
is a masterpiece of cinema.
Sybil Danning.
Okay, well, that's not exciting. The segment's over.
Menashe.
Oh my gosh.
I love a Menashe
What's
joke.
pizzin'?
I love it.
All right. What are we talking about? My Neighbor Totoro?
My Neighbor Totoro.
I can't believe you forgot.
Totoro.
Totoro.
I love this movie.
Okay.
I think it's fantastic. I saw it in 35
millimeter
2 years ago.
When and where?
At IFC,
Okay.
I believe. Is it IFC or Sunshine?
Sure. IFC shows a lot of.
I think it was IFC.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it. And I love all the matte paintings. They're so beautiful. The nature in this movie. I mean, one of the best shots in the entire movie is when it cuts to the frog watching Totoro. I mean, that's great. That's everything.
I also love the shot of when the youngest daughter sleeps on Totoro.
Yeah.
And it pulls up and it shows them in this encased in this
Oh.
beautiful lush greenery.
He does look so comfy.
He looks so
He
comfy.
looks pretty tough.
And when the soot
But I like
sprites-
that he has teeth.
Oh, me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He opens
and
his
claws.
mouth. There's some big old gnashers in there.
There has to have been produced because I was looking at the Wikipedia how successful this movie's been. I think Totoro has grossed $1 billion if you include all of everything,
Merchandise and,
especially merchandise. Because they were saying in Japan, Totoro is like Winnie the Pooh.
Mickey Mouse, it's like that level. Yes,
Right.
Absolutely.
There has to have at some point been a Totoro beanbag chair produced, right?
There is. Yes, there is.
There is?
There is.
That
I've
must
seen
be
it.
so pleasant.
I thought you were going to say, let's get one. You're just like, that's nice.
I kind of
That's
would
your
like to get one.
That'll be your next birthday present.
We got to do present corner.
Oh.
All right.
Because
David's got a new hobby, a new collection that he's starting.
Are you talking about the soda cans?
Yeah, David's got a weird hobby that he's into
All right.
now.
So this is from a while ago.
really weird.
This is
David, this is a weird hobby you have.
So Can you remind me? Can you remind me how this started? Because I don't. The three of us were texting.
We have a text thread.
Yeah,
that sometimes
we're
one
friends.
of us
We have a text thread.
Yeah,
Give
we
it a
just
break.
text.
One of us will throw in a subject that's like, I feel like you two guys are the audience
where you're
for
like,
this
right.
thing I've been thinking about.
Exactly. Like only this text thread can hear this thought.
And I think JD was the one who initiated and just said, "Can we talk about how weird Steve Carell's career is as a leading man?"
Yeah. So
like he has been a bankable leading man.
I think it was in that 2018, like Beautiful Boy. What were the
Welcome
other
to
movies?
Marwin
Welcome to Marwin
and Vice.
Yeah.
Right, where it was like people, studios keep being like, well, how do we work Carell into this?
But JD's argument was he has been bankable for over 10 years now.
Yes.
As a leading man.
Yes.
Almost exclusively playing arrogant creeps or sad sacks.
Right. Which is funny because he can be lovable.
Totally.
And yet
I
he
forget
seems...
why we were even talking about this.
That's the
I think
minority
it was
of his
just
roles.
because of Marwin and stuff like that. It
You're
was just
forgetting,
because
like,
there was a lot of Carell.
He had 3 movies come out in 3
Right.
months, and he hosted SNL, so he was like kind of omnipresent. And we were just talking about what a weird fucking career he had.
And then we were texting each other photos of him in prosthetics from.
He did press for Despicable Me 2 in garish prosthetics as Gru.
Right.
But then we were saying, like, it's weird how big his career has been in different ways.
Right.
It's also weird that, like, now The Office is humongous.
Right, and like, now The Office is the most
Also,
watched TV
Ben
show.
is in the corner with his head bag vaping into the sky.
So then I was talking about, like, how weird it is that he did, like, this Get Smart movie that was a summer blockbuster that they threatened to make a sequel to for, like, 8 years. Yeah. They kept on being like, they're trying to schedule it.
That, like, crept over 100 million, but was hardly, like...
I believe it made 130.
Yes, you're correct.
Crazy.
130.
Right.
Not very well overseas, unsurprisingly, because nobody knows what Get Smart is overseas.
But, like,
right.
a big hit.
Hit.
And they were like, we'll keep making these. And I was like, for a guy who usually plays such odd characters and has not been a character actor, but has been a movie leading man, it is so weird that at the peak of this Get Smart thing, he was like on soda bottles.
Right.
Because there was a limited promotional Sierra Mist flavor called Undercover Orange.
Right.
Because it didn't look like it was going to be orange, and then you sipped
Correct.
it, and it was secretly
Okay,
orange.
so we discussed this.
Yes.
We had this discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
The discussion ended.
And then about 6 days
I
later,
went about my life.
Yes.
Seeing movies in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
Not seeing movies in 40X.
What a sad life.
Yep.
And then, ding dong! Who's that at the door? Oh, the postman!
Ding dong.
It's the mailman. He's brought the mail. What's that? Oh, a package. I don't know this seller. Just banging the table like a child who wants dinner.
I want more.
And it's, when you get a package, you're usually like, oh yeah, I remember I ordered a thing. Right, And you're like, don't know what this package is. But often I get promotional packages from TV shows or whatever, right? So maybe it's one of those.
Here's another thing I imagine. Most times you get a package, you go, some real weight to this thing. I
This
can
is a light
feel
one.
an object.
This is a light one. Open the package. Inside is a tennis ball tube. A tube to hold tennis balls. You guys know what I'm talking about?
It's a tennis ball tube inside a box.
So at this point, I'm like, 50-50, this is a bomb. You know what I mean? Like, where I'm like, I did not order this. I don't know what it is. It's clearly not promotional
The director
material.
of some movie you panned is
Right.
finally
I'm like,
cracked.
is this something fucked up? Because like, why would I? And then I open the tennis ball tube, and inside are 3 cans of Sierra Mist, undercover orange,
but they are
flavor.
empty.
No, but that's the thing. So I'm like, okay, this is JD sent the cans.
Yes.
He must have found them on eBay that someone was selling.
Has kept them for 10 years.
And they're sealed.
Right.
But they're completely empty. Now,
They haven't been opened. No holes, no abrasions. You've noticed no.
Are they so old? Is that a thing that the soda just goes away? Like, I don't know.
Absorbs into the metal.
So I get these. I alert you to the fact that I got them and that they are empty.
3 soda
I
cans.
essentially
of
just tell
Steve
you,
Carell's
you
face.
just paid whatever you paid for this, and believe me, it wasn't worth it because they are useless.
I paid to send garbage from the UK to David.
Exactly.
But you still have them, right?
I think they're somewhere in my house.
I
Yeah.
believe it was international shipping to send someone else's garbage from 10
Literal
years ago.
garbage.
From decades ago.
What needs to be done to them is recycling. Like, that's all that needs. They're aluminum. They need to be recycled. Then Months later, I get another package. JD, please take it away.
I didn't know about this one.
Oh, you don't know about this?
I don't think I know about this one.
Well, David, why don't you tell your experience of opening it?
I got another fucking package of promotional cans from JD Amato.
I don't even remember what
More
the cans
details,
were.
please.
I was hoping you remembered.
I think, let me look it up.
Yeah.
I got to figure out what I sent David. Well, because I wanted to, now that David's got a collection of movie branded cans, I wanted to keep the collection going.
It's so weird that he's become so into collecting movie cans.
Yeah.
Like he's
Against
got,
his own will.
he's obsessed.
Oh, wait. I remember what I sent.
Go on.
Look at the title. Look at the title of what it says.
Okay, so no spoilers, but it just has order delivered. Dr. Pepper, 3 empty cans. Okay.
And they are memorabilia from the Dr. Pepper tie-in with Spider-Man 2.
So do you have an Alfred Molina can now?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but yes, I remember that now that they were Spider-Man too.
Now,
Both times I'm disappointed because the can is good enough that you're like, I drink this. You know what I mean? Like Dr. Pepper? I love Dr. Pepper.
So now David has 3 empty Dr. Pepper cans.
Well, I mean, so far, 40 East 34th Street,
Thank
Suite
you.
1401, New York, New York.
I was about to suggest this. If anyone
oh
wants
my
to
God.
I'll
send,
look up the zip code.
they have to be tie-ins.
They have to be movie tie-ins, and they have to be cans of soda.
But you better empty them.
You gotta be empty. If you find them
If
and they're
there's
full,
soda, we're sending them back.
if you find them,
Return to sender.
to sender.
Here's the thing. If the seller is selling them full, then you have to have them delivered to your house. You have to find a way to tap those cans, and then you can send
But
them.
there can be no evidence that you've tapped them. If David can find any evidence that they've been opened,
We're sending it back.
I'm the expert on this.
And give that address one more time.
Okay, the address is 40 East 34th Street, New York, New York, 10016.
And the oldest movie cans you can find, the better.
Definitely.
But if they're new, that's fine too. David loves them all.
So
We
just
would
put
love-
care of David Sims.
Yeah.
And again, the suite number is 1401.
If we can get like a sarsaparilla can with Topsy on it,
Oh
that
my
would be the
God.
oldest possible,
A can-
maybe.
a can
movie
of,
tie-in.
Old Dr. Mitchell's Coca drink with Topsy Elephant being electrocuted to death on it.
If we can get a can of
Just
Dr.
letting them go at
Brown's
this
Cell
point.
Ray with Fanny Bryce on it,
If we can get a tab can with Keiko the Whale on it, that'd be great.
Oh my God.
Also, JD sent me a 10-foot tall vinyl banner that was the teaser poster from Ang Lee's Hulk.
It's 10 feet by 6 feet, I believe.
I spent 3 weeks trying to figure out who sent it to me because there was no heads up.
That's the thing. Both times with me the same way.
Yes.
No heads up,
Right.
no alert.
But unlike with the cans, that
At least I
had
could
this
trace
text
it to
thread.
him. Right.
I'm sort of
yeah.
like a Totoro of movie merchandise.
3 weeks later, JD said, "Did you get my present?" And I said, "Oh, fine. I figured it out." But it's like meant for like giant movie theaters where they have enough ceiling height that they can hang them from the rafters.
It's a legit banner. It's 10 feet tall.
It is taller than my apartment. David.
Yeah.
Oh, it is such a point of personal pride
Mm-hmm.
for me to tell our listeners that this episode, once again, is brought to you by our good friends at Mubi.
We love him.
We love them, and they seem to like us okay.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the ultimate compliment. And this feels like a service where if you're listening to this show and you don't got Mubi, what are you doing?
It really is an incredibly easy to use, inexpensive, and fun way to catch up on all kinds of cinema.
And it's curated.
It's curated, baby.
It's not the garbage dump of content that these other services are giving you. Mubi is hand-picking, carefully selecting a new film every day. And then they're also going, I'm going to take this one back.
Well, that's how the service works, right?
But that's fun because it means that you're like, I can't just throw this in the queue and get to it 6 years from now.
Right.
Some of these other streaming platforms, I have things in my queue that have been there for a decade.
I believe you.
No exaggeration. I was doing some maintenance a decade.
Yeah.
And I never get to watching them because I just go, oh, it's going to be around there forever. And then sometimes it disappears without warning and I never see it.
Right?
Movie, not going to have that issue.
Movie, you know when it's there, you know when it's going to go.
You got accountability.
It'll even give you like a little notification if you're like not
Like
finished
leaving
with the movie.
today. you might want to catch up with this thing.
Here's some stuff they got. Peter Strickland got a
good
new movie
director.
coming out called In Fabric. 2 Stricklands on here.
Barbarian Sound Studio and The Duke of Burgundy.
Duke of Burgundy, real good.
Real good movie.
Check that thing out.
Steven Soderbergh's A Limey.
One of my favorite Soderberghs, one of my favorite movies of 1999.
A very David Sims film.
You tell him I'm coming.
No, but this is what's nice as
Do you like The Limey?
I like The Limey, yes.
crazy.
I have not seen it since I was in high school.
Oh,
and
you should rewatch it.
am relishing the fact that Mubi is giving me an opportunity to rewatch it. Not in some crummy DVD, but in proper high-res streaming service.
Right.
I will be rewatching that imminently.
Crazy editing.
I'm sorry, what?
It's got crazy editing.
Yeah, I know. Look, here's the point. And you already sort of drew this line, but it's nice that they try to kind of sync up their releases with things that are going on in the landscape.
Sure.
Strickland's got a new film. Let's throw the 2 old Stricklands up there, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Catch up.
Movie's a good way to keep you in the conversation.
Every film is hand-selected, man. Yeah.
Bare hands. They select them with their bare hands.
You can try Mubi free for 30 days at Mubi.com/check.
Yeah,
now
I can do that.
That's MUBI.com/check.
Mhm.
It's a whole month of great cinema for free.
Yeah.
I signed up for it, and I've been loving it. And another thing I don't think we've spotlighted yet on these reads is I like their emails that give you sort of like a heads up of stuff that's coming up.
Yeah. You
And they
plan
give you
your
a little
week.
description, and they sort of talk about the curation that they're doing.
Put it in
and
the
why.
calendar. Yeah. It's
But
good
anyway,
stuff.
Movie
We
rules.
love Mubi.
It's
Thanks,
good
Mubi.
stuff. It's a
Yep.
good company.
Yep.
Offering a good service, and our good listeners should take advantage of this a good deal.
Mubi.
What's up, JD? How's it going, man?
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to call because I felt like I did a bad job on the episode because I was in sort
You
of a
didn't
silly
do a
mood.
bad job. No, I think you're overthinking it.
I love My Neighbor Totoro is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I felt like I came in a goofy mood, and I feel like you're probably gonna have to cut a bunch of stuff, and I just felt bad, Ben, and I just want to say how much I love that movie, and I love your guys' podcast, and I like being on it, and I'm sorry that I probably gave you extra work by being all over the place.
Well, thank you, JD. We love having you on the show. I think you're a great, funny guy, and yeah, let's just get into the episode. Let's just let the fans decide.
Listen, I love Totoro so much. I mean, I called you beforehand. How much
You did?
I wanted-
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, and we didn't fit that in to the episode where because I was going to set up playing that clip. So why don't we say now that at the end of the episode, I'll play that clip.
It's my voicemail? You have my voicemail?
Yeah. Honestly, JB, Dislington, it's pretty funny. No, the episode's good, JD.
Okay.
All right?
I trust you.
I promise.
Thank you, Ben. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
What do you want help from the blankies on?
I'd like them to help me with the Queen's jury duty challenge. It's something that you helped me with.
Okay.
Both of you did.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
So-
yeah, right. I remember this.
I had jury duty, and the last time I was in jury duty before that, they played Mrs. Doubtfire for everyone. And I live in Queens, so jury duty is about 600 people gathered from all walks of life who all gather and wait in a room, and they play a movie for them. And the one time that I went, they chose Mrs. Doubtfire, and it was a hit.
Right.
Everybody
Such
loved
a
it.
quotable movie.
And it hits all things. So the question that I posed to the Blanky community, and I posed to Griffin and David separately, is what is the perfect jury duty movie? It is a movie that A, needs to entertain all ages and backgrounds, B, not contain anything offensive that would offend anyone, and C, it cannot contain anything that would contaminate a possible juror for a case that they're about to sit on. So that is the question. Here's the answers that I got at the time. I got Inside Out. That was David. He was pushing for that. Shrek, Father of the Bride, Catch Me If You Can, Jurassic Park, The Greatest Showman. That was Griffin.
Yeah.
A League of
Greatest
Their
Showman.
Own.
I was proud of that one. I thought
Yeah.
that was a really good
Yeah.
pick.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Captain Ron, although
My only beef with Showman was the real legacy of E.B. Farnham is
Not so good.
is a hot button.
But I think that's what makes it the perfect jury duty movie. Is it's like we scrubbed everything from it.
Yeah.
I think My Big Fat Greek Wedding probably held that spot for a solid 8 years straight.
Yeah.
I think we're just out of that movie's reign of dominance.
Right. The Majestic, said Rob Malone, and I think The Princess Bride.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think of what is the best jury duty movie. Here's the other thing I need help with.
You have to send it to David.
David.
It has
David,
to be care of David.
It has to go to David. All this has to go to
It could be
David.
a postcard. It could be a letter.
I have recently joined Letterboxd.
Oh, sure. I didn't have, do I follow you?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because Letterboxd doesn't really alert you when like your friends join.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You kinda
Also,
have to
I don't
find
do
them.
the other social media, so it wouldn't know that we know each other. But,
La-di-da.
okay, David's lost his mind. Now he just made a face that was not consistent with the situation we were in.
What's your profile? Like JD Amato?
Yeah.
Or... There you are.
Yeah, there I am. So,
So,
there is a list that I'm trying to curate of a type of film that
it's a good list.
a film that
good
features. Which one were you looking at?
Movies that contain hideouts with skateboarding and or arcade machines.
Yes. So there is a trope in cinema that I'm trying to trace.
I think it might be a dead trope, but there was a moment there in the early 90s when it was
First live action Ninja
alive and
Turtles,
breathing.
right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Second he has here, but I would say the first.
It's the second one that has it, doesn't it?
You know,
No,
I've
the
never
first
seen
one.
Ooze, but the first one definitely
First
has
one
it.
has it. I have seen both. It's been a long
Because
time.
the Foot Clan have one with skateboarding and stuff like that.
That's
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
one, I
yeah.
believe.
Is that the first one?
That's the first
I've
one.
never seen Ooze, so it has to be the first one.
Maybe
he
it's
also
in
has
both.
Hook,
It might be in both.
Double Dragon.
Hook,
Uh-huh.
Double Dragon, the Power Core, and the Double Dragon, they have a place with skateboarding arcade machines. Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie breaks into a place that has a bunch of arcade machines and pool tables and things like that and fights them. And then Hook, obviously, the Lost
Yeah,
Boys
Bangarang.
skateboard a lot.
Yeah.
I'm looking for other movies that contain, it's probably going to be 80s, 90s, that contain clubhouses where there's skateboarding and arcade machines. And it's the idea is like this is like the coolest place for these either rebels or bad guys or whatever to hang
Do you
out.
think Richie Rich has that in it? Just by, you
I
know.
was thinking Blank Check.
Interesting, but
Ooh.
is it a clubhouse or is it just the
a room in the mansion.
right? It might be
Blank
if
Check's a
there's
borderline. Yeah.
if there's multiple kids in it, I think it counts.
Okay.
Richie Rich, doesn't he have something like that?
I just said that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
God, it's like you're not even
I
listening.
think
I
to
that's
wasn't
I'll put that down, Richie Rich.
I think Richie Rich.
You've
I
been
remember that-
you've been tuning out these two.
Because there's definitely stuff in
Much
Richie
like I
Rich.
assume our listener.
Once he like makes human child friends, he's like, "Come
Right.
over. I
I
built
remember
a
that-
room for you."
I remember that he has a McDonald's. and
That's
they're
the thing
like,
everyone
Oh
remembers.
my God, you
That's
have a
insane.
McDonald's in
Right.
your house?
Yeah.
Like that's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which now seems very-
Imagine being the staff member that had to work there at that McDonald's.
well,
I mean, on the plus side, it's kind of like when you're like the fire department
Yeah.
that's on City Island, where it's like, look, there's like 3 fires a year. I mean,
Yes.
mostly we just kind of like make chili.
it's like
exactly.
it's like Barbara Streisand's underground shopping mall.
right,
You-
right.
You know about this, right?
No.
Barbara Streisand loves shopping, but she is so famous now that she can't do it anymore. So underneath her home, she has built an underground recreation of a shopping mall with employees where there are many items in multiple sizes and large quantities, and she can pick what she wants to buy.
Weird. Well, there's like that Michael Jackson thing where they rented out the grocery store
Yeah.
and then hired people to act like other grocers to walk around so that he could have the experience of being in a grocery store.
She just wants to be able to go into her
He's
basement.
normal, right?
MJ?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
normal.
totally
He's
fine.
dead.
Yeah.
Is that not normal?
Pretty abnormal, if you ask
Yeah,
me.
right. I don't know.
I don't like dead people. She will go into her underground shopping mall and be like, "Do you have this in gray?" And they're like, "No, sorry, we're out." And she wants that experience.
And then she shakes and her head shakes and the person's eyes start bleeding. She's like, I said, do you have this in gray? And they're like,
No, but that's the weird
yes,
thing.
yes, ma'am.
Is it's like Barbara Streisand's version of BDSM is like rather than just getting all the clothing items she wants to be able to replicate the experience of not necessarily being able to find what she wants in her size or her color.
Right.
I just think that's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was looking for a more interesting word, but I ended up on it.
Amazing is a good one.
Yeah.
Anything else on the old chapters?
The last thing is I made a list of, because I wanted to talk NBA with David,
Oh no.
Okay.
but
Okay,
I
let's
knew
hurry it
I
up.
knew Griffin wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
So I made a list of every current NBA player that has ever been in a movie.
Okay.
Wow.
Not that many.
Okay. Uncle Drew.
Rajon Rondo was in Just Right.
Okay.
Vince Carter, like Mike. Tony Parker was an asterisk at the Olympic Games.
Wow. John Wick 3, Parabellum.
Boban Marjanovic
Yeah.
was in.
Great
Blake
scene.
Griffin was in a bunch of stuff, the female brain being one of them. Dwight Howard was in Just Right as well. Freebirds, Three Stooges. Aaron Gordon, Uncle Drew. Kyrie Irving, Uncle Drew. LeBron James in Trainwreck. And Kevin Durant in Thunderstruck. And I think that's it for NBA players that have been in movies.
There's got to be more.
Current.
Current?
Current NBA players.
Yeah, because I was going to
Currently in the league.
Current. Oh, current.
What's the dog's name from Air Bud?
We should see what his star meter is.
Buddy?
Did you know IMDb won't let you search by animal?
What?
Do you think, okay, here's a tangent.
First tangent of the episode.
First tangent episode. Do you think CGI animals replacing animal actors is good or bad for the industry or for animals at large?
I think it's a multifaceted question. I think it's good for animals. I think it's bad for the industry. No, I'm going to say this. I'm going to correct this. I think it's good for animals. I think it's good for the industry. I think it's bad for the art form.
Got it.
And ultimately, I think on a humane level, the first two outweigh the third. But I do think movies suffer because of it.
Okay. David?
Griffin's take seems fine to me.
I like the good old
David's,
days.
I think, writing an article right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm like totally zoned
I
out.
like
I'm
the good
sorry,
old
guys.
days where like a lion could just scalp Jan de Bont.
Yes, that's one of the great. Ben, have you seen Roar?
No.
We saw that together, right?
Oh, yeah. Ben, this is your movie.
What's it about?
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Tippi Hedren, star of The Birds.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Fell in love with a man who worked in the peripheries of the entertainment industry but was obsessed with lions.
Oh, I've heard of this.
And he was like, we should make a lion movie
Yeah.
that really captures the majesty of lions. He had lions living in the house with him. It was Tippi Hedren, a then teenage Melanie Griffith, and this man whose name I'm forgetting.
I forget what his name is.
And they had lions living with them, and they would like invite them in and do like People magazine photo shoots that were like them lounging in the living room with lions and being like, look, lions are beautiful, we can coexist. And he was like, I want to make a movie about this family living with lions. So he made a very loosely scripted movie in which the three of them play the exact same roles they had within that family, that's shot within their house, but he brought in a real film crew, and it was a disaster. It shot for like 3 years.
People were mauled constantly.
Jan de Bont, who later became the director of Speed,
Okay.
but before that was like the cinematographer of Die Hard, like one of the most important people in the last 30 years of action filmmaking.
Sure.
That was one of his first films, and he was literally scalped.
A lion bit his head off.
They reattached it.
Sure.
But
Because
he-
he went on to make Speed.
Yes.
He bit his head
Off.
And
Well, first he just kept it and then sort of shook him around.
Wait,
a bit.
was he involved in Face Off? Maybe you got an idea there.
No, he was
Scalp
involved
off.
in Scalp.
Scalp off.
That's the movie where John
David's
Travolta and
back.
Nicolas Cage swap haircuts.
Guys, I am so out of it. I obviously
What's wrong?
know. I know
What's
about Roar.
wrong?
I don't know. Do we have more to say? I feel like Totoro is like
Here's the thing about
one
Totoro.
of the 10 most important movies ever made, and I'm worried we talked about it for about 20 minutes.
All right.
I'm like genuinely worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the same way that
Like,
Totoro's
I
only in
think
10
it's
10 minutes of the
arguably
movie.
one of the 10 most important.
Make your
films
stump
ever made.
speech then.
I
No,
believe,
I'm just. I'm like.
I
Even though there are Miyazaki's I prefer,
Mm.
it just feels like maybe the most important animated movie
Make
of all
this
time.
argument.
I believe it is.
I don't think there's a movie that's better at capturing like
Yes.
being a child. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like when I'm looking at you and staring because I'm processing. I'm like, what would the rivals be to that?
I truly. That's
Little
why. It's,
Fugitive, one of my favorite movies of all time. That's
Little
sort of up
Rascals.
there.
Little Vampire.
Of course, The Little Rascals.
Sandlot.
Richie Rich.
About the joy of being a child.
Ninja Turtles.
Jack. I would say.
Jack, of course. He's young at heart.
all
Insomnia, of course.
Benjamin
According to
Button.
Can't
That were kind of
Sleep.
worse than the reverse. But
Honey, I blew up the kid.
Right, it's very big, very big.
I love that.
Honey,
Honey, I
shrunk
blew
the kid.
I shrink the audience.
Honey, we drank ourselves. Okay, I genuinely believe.
Mm.
I mean, it's my number 3 movie of all time.
Sure.
And it's, I believe, the best animated film of all time.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I believe it is the high point for Miyazaki.
Interesting.
I know there's other people that love like Mononoke, but I truly believe that this is the exact combination of his skill as an animator and a visionary and telling a story that is relatable to all of humanity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know this
I
is
do.
an overall theme for this miniseries, but we haven't covered many directors who have this phenomenon. And I always find this fascinating in any sort of art form, any sort of performance, any sort of creative field. The people who seemingly are like tortured by doing the thing that they're great at.
Yeah.
Constantly want to leave it behind. And then every time they do, realize they know nothing else. Like they seemingly have this relationship where every time they're like, I can't do this any longer. And then when they're away for a table for like a minute, they're like, fuck, something's like calling me back.
Right.
Yeah, because Miyazaki famously keeps having films that he's like, this is my last one.
Sure.
I'm done. And then
Right.
it's like, okay, one more.
It seems like it's a very torturous process for him.
Well, he did say in this interview, it's his final line in the interview, I experienced tremendous happiness when I was making this film. So this might have been an outlier for him.
Yeah. It's also interesting, something to note about Miyazaki, too, is that he has a tenuous relationship with Japan as a country, as his home country.
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly talking about how at certain times of his life, he's like, I hate Japan. I don't like Japan. I don't let it. And talking about post-war Japan and having all these feelings about the cinema of post-war Japan. It's like, it's very interesting. And so this was a movie where he talks about falling back in love with his home country and where he grew up, and that idea of land and home being this thing that's really important to him. So you think of a lot of his other movies, it's a lot about not being home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot about being out away from things. And so this one is very about, like, it centers around a home, a place that all feels comfortable and safe. And I think that's also an interesting aspect of it too, because it feels like one of the few times where he reckons with some of those feelings.
Here's a Miyazaki phenomenon that I find fascinating. That why not talk about it here?
Yes.
Because of tensions between China and Japan, and because of
Yes.
China only becoming
Yes.
a real major film market recently, all of his films have been seeing release in China for the first time in wide theatrical releases. They're not re-releases. They're like, finally the gates are open. And all of them have been doing crazy well. And in fact, Toy Story 4 underperformed in China, a country where Toy Story does not have much of a cultural legacy, and was just fucking whooped by Spirited Away.
Right.
Which was like top of the box office. Spirited Away, a movie that's like 15 years old,
Right.
was playing like a blockbuster in China. And it's this thing that we've been talking about a little bit in different episodes where it's like, for how voracious a film market China has become, and for how much American studios are trying to chase China, they have pretty wide and varied tastes.
Yes.
Like we talked about, like Shoplifters and like Capernaum were like huge fucking hits in China. Like there are foreign films that are being released in China that are difficult art house films that are playing like blockbusters. There are old Japanese animated films that are playing like blockbusters. Like they're not just like give us whiz bang, give us franchises.
Yes. Right.
Even though the franchises do well there seems to be like at the same time that it's like exploding as a commercial film market, there is like a new appreciation for film as an art form
I wonder if I can
that
find
I'm very
weekend.
jealous of.
Well, here's something that ties into that also is I think Totoro is specifically very interesting because I think when people think of, especially people that have not seen My Neighbor Totoro, like Ben, before you...
Yeah, we're going to do that box office weekend. That's more interesting.
The Chinese one?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it came out like a year ago?
Yeah, it was
17,
very
18?
recent.
Yeah.
December 2018.
Yeah, wow.
Before you saw this movie, what did you think it was about?
They had mentioned that you could find a magical monster in the woods.
Right.
If you left the house one day, you might just be lucky. So all I knew was that there was like a big monster.
And I feel like between
And he was
all-
a neighbor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I saw that in the title and I was like, okay, so they're friendly monsters.
Sure.
But like through all the merchandising and all of the sort of depiction of Totoro, because it's become the sort of Mickey Mouse of Studio Ghibli, is I think it gets reduced into being like a Mickey Mouse, a Disney kind of thing, where it's
mascot.
like, oh, there's a mascot, it's a fun thing. But I do think this is a film that is beyond that. And I think that's why, like, for some people, it's easier to take movies more seriously that are like Spirited Away or other movies where it's like, oh, this is an adult story told through the lens. It's like this, for some people, I think feels like it is a kid's story that is for children. But I would press you to think of it's an age group that would watch this film and not love it, right? This is a film that I think
6-year-old
works for
person.
everybody.
But I'll say, too, I mean, you speaking about sort of like the perception this movie has, I, having seen it as a 6-year-old, was like, Totoro's like barely in it. It's mostly the kids being sad about their mom, and Totoro's only got like a few scenes, and they're kind of quiet and like melancholy. And I, in my head, was like, I must have been an impatient kid, and I'm misremembering. There has to be a lot more Totoro, even if it takes a while for him to come in. No. But it never does sort of become that E.T. symbiotic, he's the key to the whole movie.
No, he serves no real plot function. It's not like at the end they're like, Totoro has the thing that we need to do the thing. Like,
but I think that's
the cat bus shows up and takes him around, which is great.
And that the biggest conflict in the movie is like, did she run away?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is there now going to be some trite thing where like she has to use Totoro to find her sister? But it's so pointedly not that.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think is important about this movie, too, is it is a wildly successful film that is a beautiful film that also touches on all these things that filmmakers talk about believing in, but rarely stick to, which is the idea that this is about moments and experiences. It's not a story with villains and bad guys and good guys. Because how many people talk a big game like that, myself included, and then when it comes time,
they're like, well,
it's like, well, we need a bad guy, we need a plot, we need a thing. How do we keep the audience engaged? And this is a movie that it flies by, and every moment you are engaged, but it's not because you're like, uh-oh.
I agree.
This is going to happen. So that's why I think it is one of the most important films of all time.
I just think it's fascinating that like 30 years later, they can get a wide release in a new country, and people are like, yep, 100% down. And removing the cultural ubiquity of that character as an icon, it's not an obvious crowd-pleasing film. But then even just sort of reading, and this was before Miyazaki had like, you know, sort of had finally developed this reputation in the States when he was still this kind of like secret, like, do you know there's this guy in Japan?
Right.
Yeah.
Fox apparently made $60 million off of the VHS in 1994.
Right, that's insane.
Or 95. Like, it was like a big fucking success for them.
Right.
I take
kids.
Yeah, but I mean, think about how much kids stuff doesn't work on that level. I understand that was like a VHS boom.
Yeah.
And I know the moment when the Miyazaki films started coming out on DVD also totally coincided with peak DVD boom.
Yeah.
When Disney got the rights, it was like the height of DVD sales.
Right. When people were just like, I got this machine, like,
right.
Let me own these DVDs.
But it also was this fascinating
thing.
Special
features.
G-Kids, who now has all the Ghibli rights. Yeah. I was talking to the guy who runs it, and he was like, that's the thing that's really fucking saved us and kept our lights on, because of the fact that he doesn't allow them on streaming, that you can't rent them digitally. They perform so much better than most physical media.
Right.
Like, it's like they always had their solid performance chunk, and then everything else has gone down in the same way that, like, Weird Al Yankovic now charts #1, but he's like, but these are the lowest album sales I've ever had.
Right.
It's just that my audience has stayed consistent. It's like you can go to any Walmart, any Best Buy, like any super mass retail big box that still has a physical media section, and they will have every Ghibli movie, even if otherwise their selection has become more and more sparse.
Right.
Because there is this like sense of like, these are fucking special and they continue to sell.
I would contend that I take a little bit of umbrage, especially in these lists and this and that, when people talk about the best films of all time. And it's like always like Beauty and the Beast or whatever. Like,
it's always Beauty and the Beast?
When they talk about animated films, it's always these like classic American films. And Totoro and things like that are up there. But I believe those films age. And I think this is a film that doesn't really age.
I think so.
I think that's fair about Beauty and the Beast. And I mean, we're going to talk about Kiki soon, Griffin.
Yeah.
Which is a movie that came out the same year as Little Mermaid. And is like an
Talk
fascinating...
about Kiki next week.
Yes, on this podcast, yes. And is a fascinating comparison to it.
Yeah.
And does feel a little more like applicable to now, whereas The Little Mermaid, when you watch it, I love that movie, but you're like, Jesus Christ, like she never even met the guy and she's fucking selling her voice. You know, like there are things where you're like, oh, if I showed this to a kid, I'd maybe want to talk to them about like gender roles and things, you know, like princesses and like
there's shit, and I'm sure we will have talked about this in the Lion King episode.
Sure.
After we've seen the movie in 4DX. But I was very much a kid who was like on the Disney tip.
Yes.
Totally bought into the like the sales pitch of the Disney magic. You know, like this is Disney's 33rd original completely animated film. Like I would like be like selling the line.
You weren't just you didn't just want to see Disney.
Yeah.
You knew the Disney marketing lingo.
Totally. But I have very little nostalgia for any of those movies. And especially the Renaissance ones, which were coming out at the time that I was that target audience.
Yeah.
I would rewatch far less than the early ones, the ones that were more sad and more slow. The new ones that came out, I would see them, I would love them, I would freak out, I'd buy the soundtrack, this and that. And then like 6 months later, they would fade. And I know I'm in a minority there because most of these have had more stickiness with people. But I did like a rewatch of a bunch of them 5 or 6 years ago when Netflix briefly had like the majority of the Renaissance movies streaming.
Right.
And the one that I think is my favorite from that Renaissance run, from like whatever it is, 89 to 99, if you want to say,
right,
is Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is simultaneously the one that has aged the best and aged the worst.
Which I haven't seen that one in years.
The best stuff in Hunchback is incredible because it has so much fucking integrity and so much commitment to what it's doing. And then the stuff that's like Disneyfied that movie stands out so hard. And there's shit like Jason Alexander as the wisecracking, womanizing gargoyle that could only happen in that one specific year that it came out.
Right.
And you're just like, this holds up horribly.
Right.
But Miyazaki movies, Ghibli films don't have that. Like, they don't feel connected to that moment in which they came out in that same sort of way.
And they never had the person who was like, can there be a wisecracking gargoyle in Totoro? Or what?
We need to make it more like this. We need to hire this musician.
Can there be a
this
funny
as their
dog?
song.
Right, yeah.
We have to update this from what the original story was, or
Here's another thing that I think is interesting that also I think taps into some of the like not having anything controversial to say about this movie.
Right.
And it's changed a little bit in recent years with documentaries, but I don't think Miyazaki is someone that holds the same intrigue or drama or public persona that a lot of the blank check directors do, in the sense that
well, but he does though.
But I feel like he does now.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying like his personality is becoming more and more out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm less like, when you talk about Tim Burton, it's one thing to be like, oh, and then is this and he's making this choice. With Miyazaki, it's sort of, and maybe there's maybe an American perspective, someone that's just away from that and does not have exposure to that. But it feels like him as a person feels like less of a presence in the culture outside of his movies. And so the films are able to stand on their own. And so I feel less of a discussion that I need to have where it's like, oh boy, here's this person making this crazy choice. And this is this point in there.
Really interesting about him. He is a mogul within his own film industry, but he's a mogul who is seemingly uninterested in business and money.
Right.
Like, my dad was talking to this G-Kids guy. Well, we ran into him at a screening, right?
Yeah.
My dad knew him. I didn't know him when I was talking to him because I'm a dumb animation nerd, as David would say. And I had all these questions. And my dad was like overhearing, and he was like, wait, he doesn't let his movies on streaming? And the guy was like, no. And my dad was like, but when's he going to change on that?
Right.
And he was like, he's not going
to change. I mean, it may be when he dies.
And my dad was like, what do you mean? And he was like, the G-Kids guy was like, he has a modest house.
Right.
And he's happy with his life.
Right. And he's not the best guy.
No.
To
this
work
is what I'm
for
saying.
or work
he seems
with.
like kind of a tough guy.
And also this
not
thing,
as tough as Takahata, who has the real reputation.
I guess when I was talking about these people who like the thing that they seem so naturally good at seems weirdly torturous for them, I find that those people also have an arc where it's like when they start out, it's pure joy. And then every successive time they have to do another project, it takes more out of them and the joy diminishes to a weird degree. Like at first it's like, I love this. This makes me so happy. Like maybe Totoro's the peak of that for him.
Right.
And then it starts to be like more of this weird like Faustian bargain. Not to make them sound tortured,
Right.
But that it's like it becomes less of a blissful, organic expression and more of a sort of like surgery for them to get these things out of their system. Right. And the fact that Miyazaki is like someone who has a complete blank check because it's his studio, because the films have such catalog value, because they merchandise so well, that he sort of can do whatever he wants. Yeah. There's no sort of career machinations of I should do this type of movie, now I should do that. Seems to totally follow his muses.
I know, which is funny considering that like there's a theme park based basically on the way he draws the world, right? You know what I mean? Like there are video games, there's there's a whole style of thinking.
Right. The balance between the ways in which he is really protective of his brand and the ways he isn't. I mean, he's kind of like Jim Henson in that sense. Because Jim Henson had the same thing where he was like, look, there's going to be merchandise. I have to do it. It's a necessary
Sure,
evil.
he wasn't going to be holy about it because, like, yeah, right.
But he talks a lot about like his like frustration with it, and then he was like, "Look, well, if I don't make it, someone else is going to make it, and if making it is a way to like endear, like strengthen the relationship between the children and these characters, then I just want to make sure that the merchandise is good and curated. I want it to be high quality, and I don't want it to be exploitative, and like stuff like that, right?" It feels like Miyazaki's got that sort of relationship where it's also like, this is what keeps the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
If I sell enough Totoro plushes and continue to sell them for 15 years, I can make these other movies, and I can let other people make these movies and this and that.
Yeah. I need to read more about it, how it all works. Very early on when we met as friends.
Yeah.
We were talking about this movie.
Back in the TCGS days?
Exactly.
Like at a Lincoln Park, the bar named after the band?
We were walking to Lincoln Park.
We would always go after this film.
And I said to you, you know, the thing that I love the most about Totoro, and you said, David, I don't know what you're going to say, but I do know that this is why we're becoming such good friends. Like you said something like, you remember this? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No, I don't remember it
at
all.
Like, you were like, I don't know what you're going to say, but I'm excited about the way that you asked that question, and I feel like it suggests, great things ahead for us.
I feel like
love that.
You and I had that moment early on where we were like, we both think that Jim Henson is one of the 10 most important artists who's ever lived. And you were like, oh, this isn't someone who likes the Muppets. This is someone who is like, has specific things to say about.
Right. You realize that, it's that wavelength.
It's not like,
thing.
Kermit's cute.
And Ben and I were like,
he is cute.
Ernest is one of the greatest comedians of modern history.
I'm like, the pen bit.
That's one of the great.
And is found as some sort of Totoro beanbag plushie. What is it?
Is that full size though?
No, but he's got the little
leaf.
lotus leaf.
There's the Totoro beds.
Oh man,
full size beds.
David, I found a really good piece of Ghibli merchandise for you that you're going to get later in this miniseries.
Oh, very exciting.
It's a little thing, and I think you're going to love it. It's not going to be a cumbersome, burdensome. Where do I put this thing?
I love Ghibli.
Which soda?
But the other
is
thing,
it?
Joanna also adores these movies.
I'll tell you
which soda it is.
I don't want to spoil it. I'll tell you off mic.
Joanna also adores these movies, so I feel like it'd be less of it's less of a thing where like basically every day Joanna's like, when can we get rid of the Forky mask? Is asking me that.
Well, of course, he's competition.
Exactly. It's just setting you up for that.
Yeah.
All right.
But also I was going to say, I saw this thing out in the wild. I walked into a store and
you saw
this,
the item. Okay.
And I went, holy shit, would David like it if I got this for him? And then I saw an element of the item I didn't notice at first, and I went, I will be a bad friend if I don't get this for David.
So you have it, you're saying, but it hasn't appeared like
Griffin.
You have the item, but you haven't produced it yet.
I haven't produced it.
Right, okay.
Griffin also got me a birthday present, and it was the worm from Labyrinth.
1-to-1 scale.
A highly
Very nice.
detailed model.
It's got hair, real hair.
Backstage
On it.
It's not the plush one, which I have 2 of those.
Yeah, no, but it's like a polystone kind of. Yeah.
So anyway, the thing I was going to say to you at Lincoln Park was that the whole thing is, I feel like at a 5-year-old's eye level, like not only story wise but visual wise. But I feel like we said that.
Yeah.
But that was my big insight as we were walking to a bar on a Tuesday night at like midnight.
It's hard when a movie is. It's
hard. Wednesday night.
Tuesday was trivia. That was back when our weekend was Tuesday, Wednesday. Remember we used to say that?
Yes.
Tuesday was trivia, Wednesday was Gethard Show.
Late.
The 2 nights.
It's also crazy that Gethard Show and Videology, like both sort of like.
The same.
Yeah. And I was like, those are my 20s.
Yeah.
My 20s were those 2 things.
Yeah.
The friendships connected to those 2 things.
Those trivia nights were so fun.
They were great. Here's the box office game from China.
I'm going to say this because I want to hold ourselves to it. I think we got to organize a trivia night. I know we've talked about
We've
before.
Said that.
We were going to do one at Videology right before it closed.
Right.
I think we just need to fucking do it.
We can do it at Nighthawk, maybe. I think we've discussed that. Maybe.
Yep, Blank Check fans come out.
That's the idea.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Do a fun one. We run it.
Yeah.
Our friends come.
Fun one.
Our fans
fun one
come.
that we run.
A fun run.
Alex
fun
can
run.
do a guest round. JD can do a guest round.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know what my guest round will be about.
I was like we can't commit to a weekly thing, but I'd like to be like every couple of months we might do a little
we
trivia.
We do it. See how it goes. Number 1 at the Chinese box office, December 14th, 2018. I think it might be the biggest hit of the year. Biggest non-Chinese hit of the year.
2014?
18.
2018.
So it's an American film.
Yeah.
2018. Was it the number 1 American film at the box office? Did it overperform
Avengers.
in China?
No.
So it's not Infinity War.
No.
And it's not Black Panther.
No.
It's not a Marvel.
No.
Is it a Disney?
No.
It's not a Disney.
No.
It's going to be
It's not Fate of the Furious.
No. It is good.
It's a good movie?
Yeah.
Really? You said that with such satisfaction. Is it Aquaman? Aquaman was the number one. Okay.
I was just like, that movie did so insanely well in China. I was like, is that arguably China's biggest domestic, American hit of the year? Let's find out.
I still feel like the biggest American film in China is Fate of the Furious.
No, but in 2018, I don't mean all time.
I know.
Maybe I'm wrong. But Infinity War was actually slightly more. Aquaman was the second biggest American movie.
Okay.
But yeah, Aquaman.
A movie, we both said this when we saw it. We were like, I don't know if this is going to do well here. It's going to do great in China. Was surprised by how well it did here.
Did well everywhere. $1.1 billion, the highest grossing DC movie of all time.
Wow.
I believe.
Yeah.
Like, right? With a bullet?
When we did our Aquaman episode, we completely flipped the actual outcome in our predictions for that versus Mary Poppins.
Yes, exactly.
Mary Poppins.
She returned. God, that Rob Marshall, he must be so pleasant to work for. Because people sure like doing it.
Have you guys ever been to England?
What? Number 2 is My Neighbor Totoro. Yeah, get out of here, Ben.
He's got to go get the mail. A bunch of soda cans already came in.
Number 3 is a Indian film. So there's a lot of crossover there with Bollywood.
Yeah.
Inspired by the life of a famous social entrepreneur.
A social entrepreneur?
I don't know what. I'm just like, why would you know this movie? It's called Padman.
Oh, I knew that.
But then the other 2 you'll know. This is all right. So number 4, animated film. I think Griffin refused to see it. He has various hang-ups about it.
Frozen 2.
No, Frozen 2 hasn't even come out yet.
Might have come out earlier in China.
Real early. An adaptation.
Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
No, but Christmassy.
Oh. I think you're talking about me. The Grinch. This is what the Grinch sounds like when voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Why are you so mad about it?
He doesn't.
Why
like
would you
Benedict
hire Benedict Cumberbatch?
You ever heard him trying to say penguin?
Yeah, it sounds like how the Grinch would say penguin. Have you ever heard this?
Hey, did you audition for this? Is this what's going on here?
No, what angers me is that they paid him probably $2 million to seemingly do an impression of me when I don't want the Grinch to sound like me.
So you're mad that the Grinch sounded like you?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. I hate Christmas.
Have you seen
Benedict Cumberbatch could have been the Grinch.
Have you seen it?
No, I refuse to see it.
The Grinch.
The Grinch.
No, I don't. I have no interest in the Grinch.
All right, fine. Fair enough.
Sure, it's great.
No one's seen the Grinch.
JD is kind of the Grinch of Grinch movies.
Clearly.
I'm the Grinch.
The other movie in the top 10 is, it's an American movie. I believe it had an Indian director. Was kind of a sleeper hit of 2018, like a small movie. Very small scale. I saw this movie just on a whim with Emma Stefanski, and she can testify that I spent the whole time just squirming and shrieking in my seat.
I know exactly what this is from your experiencing this.
Fair enough.
This is the film Searching.
Yes, I mean I gave myself 40x watching that movie.
Yeah.
That movie rules.
That movie's really good. I'm still jealous of you for putting John Cho in your Best Actor ballot.
Hell yeah. Incredible performance.
Yeah.
Very, very demanding.
That guy's so good.
He is so good. Have you seen Searching?
No.
It's the movie that plays out entirely on a desktop screen.
Oh, I've heard of this.
It's great. You'd like it.
Okay.
It's very inventive.
I'll check it out.
It's fun. Some people don't like the twist. I think the twist is great. I didn't see the twist coming.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's pulpy. I think it's really well made. I think John Cho is he's one of those guys who can do anything.
I agree.
Any genre, any size role.
Did you guys know the sequel to Agent Cody Banks is Agent Cody Banks 2 Destination London?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we knew that. Is there a
Wait,
reason?
how did you know that?
Well, I once pulled a Cody Banks of my own and made my Destination London.
What?
Displing Zing?
You already forgot.
Displing Zing?
Displing Zing?
Displing Zing?
Islington. When I was...
Displing?
Oh, God.
We're playing the Chinese box office game right now for a Japanese movie.
You can't get mad at
American
me after
podcast.
the shit you pulled on this episode, you maniac. Give me that piece of paper. Give it to me now.
Okay.
God. You're like, I love Totoro, the greatest animated movie of all time. Great. Now let's talk about the NBA ops.
The other thing you said was cancel all of your plans.
Yeah, you did. You said you were going to
Clear
get his
the
homework,
schedule.
and he never did.
I didn't. I had a crazy week.
Oh, fair enough. What was the homework going to be?
It was just going to be some discussion topics, some of this stuff. We got the most of it.
Can I just say, just because I gotta say it?
Sure.
And I can't talk about what it was, but I found out right before I came to record here that I didn't get a job that I thought I was going to get that would have had me in London for
Destination
2.5
London.
months.
Yeah.
And the bit
You're
potential.
real Agent Cody Banks, too.
I know. The bit potential was like half the reason you wanted this
gonna
job.
Be so incredible. And I'm just like sitting here and like this has been a nice episode and I love
But
being
you're
here
like,
with some of my
you're
best
like
friends.
folding up all these bits and like putting them in a
I am just like I
Yeah,
started
exactly.
sort of like planning. Yeah. Like,
Sorry, go on.
No, I just thought it was going to be so. There was so much potential.
I'm sorry you didn't get the gig.
You guys have to do a live show in London.
Do we?
Yes.
All right.
So you can see it for the first time.
And you can go watch a movie on the wrong side of the road.
David just threw a bag of subjects against the wall, picked it up, and threw it against the other wall.
Crazy. Can't believe we're doing 2 of these tomorrow.
And then you can do a segment called Big Ben, Little Ben.
Well, that's the other
where
thing.
Ben stands outside Big Ben.
Right, because we were panicked about him getting this job, we scheduled a shit ton of recordings, which is great.
We're
it's
literally
good.
recording 8 episodes within 6 days, I think. Obviously, this isn't exclusive to the London job that I didn't get. If I get any job that takes me away for a little while, this is possible. But just because it seemed kind of immediate and like it was going to happen, was really excited to be able to experiment with shifting from ding dong to ring rings.
You want another ad to put in there? Ding dong.
Ring ring.
Hi, it's me, Mickey Mouse.
No!
If you come to Disney and say blankies, we'll let you piss in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mickey, it sounds like you've been hanging out with Ron McDonald a lot. You got a similar energy going on.
I'm JD. I have to leave the room. Hey, kids, it's me, Ronald McDonald. Hey, it's me, Mickey Mouse. David's waving us off.
Okay. David's taking out a big vaudeville cane, and he's pulling. David's doing a Sandman routine and Showtime at the Apollo style.
And we're back.
Tap dance.
Did you do the whole spiel at the end?
No, I'm going to do it now.
Okay, good.
I've been JD Amato. This has been a 30-minute episode about My Neighbor Totoro because Ben had to cut everything.
Yeah, where I'm like, keep the meat, and the meat is like one little sliver of like, one slice of ham.
Yeah, it's like when people have those sandwiches from like whatever. What's the place where you get sandwiches?
Subway?
Yeah, no, the place where. Never mind. I'm taking too much time describing this.
Pass.
Next.
Pret? Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay.
I'm done. I love Totoro.
Blanket.
Thank it.
Guys, end it.
You end it. It's your podcast. I'm a guest on this podcast.
Stop yelling at me.
I'm waiting for you to give me a window, David. You won't stop talking.
I'm just like, end it.
I can't end it if you keep on saying end it.
Displingzin.
Displingzin.
I'm going to the bathroom.
No, stay. David.
What's your social media?
David Elson.
On what?
Twitter.
And? What about Instagram?
You can't follow me on Instagram unless I know you.
It's locked.
Yeah.
That's why your follower count's pretty low.
That's how I want it. I used to have a lot, and Joanna one day was like, can people see these pictures? And I was like, yeah.
Cut it out.
And she was like, no. And I agreed with her.
And email him some cans.
Yeah, you gotta email David some cans. And don't email them. Mail them. Mail them.
Ben, you're the producer here. I'm a guest. It's flailing in the wind right now.
If you wrap this up, we can watch the Top Gun
We're
Maverick
trying
trailer.
to wrap it up. JD's begging
The
for
Top
us
Gun
to wrap
Maverick trailer.
I can't do it if you're talking about this trailer.
Someone kill me.
You gotta give me a chance to end the episode.
Someone end this.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks to Anne Triguera for our
Ding
social
dong.
media. Oh, let me see who this is.
Yeah, no, go.
Krieg. Oh my God, it's Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork.
Thanks, Joe.
Ding dong. Who's this? Krieg. It's blinkies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. Ring ring. Let me pick this up. Who is it? Oh my god, it's TeePublic for some real nerdy shirts. Ding, 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 ding. Let me check the Telegraph here.
It's
It's
Pokemon
Patreon,
Go.
where we're still doing Marvel commentaries because that shit never ends. Tune in next week for Kiki's Delivery Service with the great Caroline Framke.
Right.
Framke's back, baby.
Framke's back, and she's here to talk deliveries.
Hey, Jesus Christ, calm down. And as always,
I love Totoro.
What up, Haas? It's JD Amato. I told you to call me before you watched Totoro, and I was on a call, so I missed your call. And I just want to say this, if we don't talk before you watch it. I believe this is perhaps the best animated film of all time. It taps into a imaginative and simple and beautiful encapsulation of childhood that I think is lost in most modern media. So when you watch this movie tonight, I want you to do whatever you can do to make yourself comfortable, nostalgic, and transport yourself back to what it was like to be a kid, and that the thoughts and feelings and fears and ideas that you had as a kid, and go into this movie just attaching to that identity of your childhood self and letting that little kid come out. Because I think this movie really features things that make you feel like a kid and think like a kid, and depicts moments of truth and honesty from the eyes of a child in a way that I think is absolutely brilliant. So if you've got some real nostalgic weed that you have to smoke, or some nostalgic edibles, hit those up. If you need to watch it alone in your bed, in your PJs, do that. Subs or dubs, whatever you want, Ben. I just think this movie is so delicate and beautiful, and I can't wait for you to watch it, and I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow. I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.